Hello, friends. I hope you guys are doing great. My name is Jackie. If you're new to this channel, I'm an evolutionary astrologer and tarot reader. Welcome, welcome. We're going to be unpacking this upcoming Neptune transit that's hitting the end of the month. I did promise you guys a video. So I'm going to be discussing in general. I'm going to front load with general messages. Please don't fast forward out of that because I'm going to be discussing not only general messages having to do with Neptune and Aries, but also with this Pluto conjunct Neptune for this entire transit. This is a good thing. I was looking forward to doing this video because I do like to offer some really uplifting and positive energy, especially during this time of change. And while it might not always be easy, it's definitely going to ultimately be very, very positive for us. So we're going to begin with that, and then I'm going to break it out into each of the signs. If you like my work, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing. It helps the algorithm. It helps my channel grow. I do appreciate that. And if you do want to work with me privately, all of the details are in the description box below. All right, so let's get into this. Neptune is going to be moving into the sign of Aries. Um, and this is kind of a big deal, right? This is a very intriguing, it's a very transformative energy that's going to be going on because Neptune is very dreamy and Aries is very dynamic. It's actually very different energy. Aries is like, come on, let's go. It's the Emperor energy in tarot. It's fresh path, new perspective. What are you doing, Aries? I don't know, but I feel really good about doing it and I'm going to go after it. I'm going to feel optimistic even though we might not have the game sheet, even though we might not know exactly how it is that we're going to meet our goals, at least the energy is there. Neptune, though, brings a lot of confusion. Neptune can bring self-sabotaging behavior. It can also bring circumstances that end up victimizing us. So it's like, hold on, how do we end up blending these energies? So let's just kind of start with a basic lay of the land with the blending of these two, because we have this very pioneering spirit, which is Aries, very pioneering, like let's go after new. And then Neptune is very, very visionary. So when Neptune is in Aries, the combination of the imaginative, of mystical qualities, right, that Neptune always brings with it, with this assertiveness and boldness of Aries, can really make us feel very inspired to get out there and start something new, something very unconventional, or approaches to spirituality, creativity, personal expression that are very different than anything that we've been doing, or even things that maybe we've been wanting to do, but we haven't felt brave enough to do, right? That Aries energy with Neptune gives us the chutzpah to get in and do it and say, you know what, nothing to lose here. And this idea of change is also going to be working because it's going to be sextiling Pluto and Aquarius. Remember, Aquarius is all about the future, ruled by Uranus. Uranus is very revolutionary, it's the revolutionary energy, right? So this Neptune Aries energy is going to be sextiling the planet of change and transformation in a sign that's ruled by revolutionary energy. So this is completely positive when it comes to pushing us towards where we're supposed to be. Now, this idea of imaginative and idealistic action can absolutely be exercised here because again, Aries is all about action. You might think about Aries as like the warrior out on the battlefield. And it's like last man standing wins, or last woman, right? Last person standing wins. And it's our fighter energy. It's fire, right? Neptune rules the underbelly of the oceans. It's very water. It's the bottomless ocean. So we just have to be careful that we have all of this energy for new and go and do, but then we can have a really hard time feeling grounded. So we have to just make sure, because Aries does really generate a lot of idealism, right? And us wanting to hold on to something solid as we move forward, even if we don't have all the directions in place on how to actually get to where we want to go. But Neptune can be a little deceitful, right? Aries makes us want to take bold action. Absolutely. But Neptune can really challenge our ability to feel grounded as we do it. So listen, I'm all about, yeah, and you, those of you who've been watching me for a long time, you know, what do I always say? To be forewarned is to be forearmed. So when you're having the transit and you're feeling the energy, because there will be confusion, because Neptune can absolutely be confusing. It can be confusing, right? I'm going to get a little more specific with Neptune specifically after I just sort of address this general combination together. Because it's important to know together. I mean, talk about an energy combined that really wants to enhance this idea of spiritual independence. It's and what does that mean? Spiritual independence. It's like I want to, either study the religion or the spirituality or the occult practices, whatever it is that you want to engage with as far as spirituality, as far as your belief system, right? But you want to be independent in that. You don't want to have to be very accountable. So Neptune in Aries often leads to a very strong desire for that spiritual independence and not trying to play by somebody else's rules. And a lot of us are going to feel very compelled to create our own path in terms of not only our spirituality, but just our general personal beliefs. There's going to be this very innate desire to experience spirituality, our belief systems, in a very direct, a very personal, and a very active way. Active in that we're able to actually act on what it is that we want for ourselves rather than just following tradition, going by the structure, what are the expectations, and all that stuff. We're not really going to be feeling the need to do that. And so because of that, obviously there are going to be there's going to be this experience of inspired new beginnings, right? And you're really going to feel this desire. It's not even a desire. I don't want to say it's this recognition that there is a new beginning starting afresh. And this placement is going to allow you to embrace the change, take the lead in personal projects, because that Neptune influence can really help you tap into creative, not only inspiration, but hidden gifts and abilities that you didn't even really know that you had. I sort of addressed it in my last video when I was just discussing the astrology for March for each sign. But absolutely, I mean, Neptune could be like, stop hiding yourself. Because Neptune rules the house of the hidden. And when Neptune is working with Aries, Neptune feels like he has permission to actually tap in to those gifts and abilities. And these are things that you're naturally born with, because remember, Aries is the sign that represents our birth. So these are things that you are like natural, innate gifts and abilities, not things that you've studied for years and years, although you might have studied for years and years to hone those natural gifts and abilities, but really leaning into something that you're really, really good at that's going to end up opening up this new phase of your life. And it's going to help you to embark on a very transformative journey. And it's going to be transformative, people. It is, especially with it sextiling Pluto. It's just the way that it is. But we do have to say possible confusion. And when it comes to taking action is going to happen, because Neptune does bring dreams and idealism, and Aries wants immediate results. And that dynamic can lead to moments of confusion where your impulses or your desires can really kind of go head to head in a head to head clash with the pragmatics of a situation. How practical is something in your life, at that point. So it's really good to identify what you want and work towards it, but you want to really respect the process as well. You might act on inspiration or passion without fully understanding the larger picture, leading to potential misdirection or disillusionment, especially if things don't go as planned. So you want to just make sure that you're not jumping into anything like, um, with rose-colored glasses, really exercising very strict boundaries. I just want to say in general, this can lead to the kind of situation where new relationships are formed. Awesome. But you want to make sure that you're going for people who aren't otherwise married, engaged, where they're actually available. They're not using you for money, prestige, placement. You want to make sure that any sort of project that you're getting into, that you're really doing your research and your homework on people who you're going to be getting, involved a little more deeply in any situation. You want to be careful. You want to just be mindful that yes, new beginnings are going to be happening, but with Neptune in the mix, Neptune can be kind of confusing. Okay. Um, Neptune in Aries can also bring a really palatable desire for you to lead or inspire others through very bold, very visionary action. So, maybe wanting to start your own business or take the lead in a relationship or, get in front of something. There's going to be a lot of motivation. There's going to be a lot of fire, right, in your energy there. So we just want to balance though out the idealistic dreams with reality. We just want to make sure, right? But this Neptune in Aries is a placement that combines a very, again, deep visionary connection with a very fierce desire to act and lead. And this can bring amazing creative outcomes for those of you, and even spiritual intuition for those of you who are in the spiritual community. But there is a need for awareness of how practical or grounded your actions are as you walk the path until 2039, guys. This is a 14-year transit. So you do want to balance between idealism and reality because that is the key here. Now, I just want to mention a couple of key notes that March 30th is when Neptune moves into Aries. I did discuss that last week. But also this fall on October 22nd of 25, all the way till January 26th of 2026, Neptune briefly retrogrades back into Pisces. Now, everything that I say today is still going to apply because when he retrogrades back for that brief time period, he's still going to be, and I don't want to get too confusing, but so late in that late last 10 degrees or late decan for those of you who are a little more savvy with your astrology, that late decan, that it's still going to be sextiling Pluto. It's still going to be very in the house of that Aries energy. It's going to be too late in the decan to not be. Okay. So that little dip back, I'll talk more about that once the fall comes, how that's going to impact our experience, generally speaking. But once he goes back in January 26th of 2026, then it's going to be in there until, 2039. And guys, these long transits always do this. Always. Pluto did it. Uranus is going to be doing it this summer. Neptune does it. It's always this dip in and then we dip out and then we dip back in. It's to acclimate us to the energy, okay? But I want to let me unpack a little bit more about Neptune in particular, because Neptune is one interesting puppy when it comes to planets. Because keep in mind, Neptune rules Pisces, right? And so Pisces is the twin fish going in opposite directions. So one of the fish, unconditionally loving and giving, it represents the nurse, the caretaker, the drug rehab, the rehabilitation institution. I just love spirituality. It's where the veil is very emotional and very thin between worlds, right? It's water, Neptune rules the under ocean, as I mentioned a few moments ago. How do you feel grounded in a bottomless ocean? It's difficult. You can't, not with any ease anyway. But of course, because we're not victims and we're not puppets to any of our transits, right? At all times, every day, all day, our astrology is an option. It's not an option. It's a suggestion, I should say, right? Where this is going to be what this can be what's going to be, unless you make some certain decisions and certain choices along the way, right? And we have, right, thank goodness, the human condition, we're allowed choice. So we're not puppets to any of this energy, right? So we always want to make sure whenever we're talking about Neptune that we're making a concerted effort to establish boundaries so that we don't end up victimized, because that is also this energy. We could victimize ourselves through self-sabotaging behavior, through addiction, drinking too much, pills, spending too much money, sexual addiction, sticking too strictly to our own beliefs, to a point where we have myopic vision, or we're not able to see beyond the veil, right? For us to be able to grow ourselves, right? Those are all kind of the same animal, right? Addiction just means imbalance. So fill in the blank with whatever it is. But when we're talking about this, we are talking about a very Neptunian energy. So while we can become victimized, used as a doormat by other people, while we're being unconditionally loving and giving, because we don't understand the boundaries in a situation. So we end up not establishing the boundaries in that relationship, in that job, having to do with our health, having to do with our literally our mental health as well, physical health, mental health as well. We have to be able to create those boundaries, because then the other fish is all about that self-sabotage. And the self-sabotage could just be as basic as allowing ourselves to be taken advantage of, and or exercising self-sabotaging behavior, being very secretive, being very underhanded, right? Because there's something else at play, right? So very important to understand the duality of Neptune. Gemini is not the only dual sign. You got the twins with Gemini, but you have the twins with Pisces as well. The twin fish, but again, they're going in opposite directions. So it's very much, yeah, you need to be very mindful about that. Okay. Now, for this next part, I want to talk about Pluto sextiling Neptune. This is a supportive and harmonious transit, guys. It combines the transformative power of Pluto, which I've been doing a lot of videos about, with spiritual, imaginative Neptune. That is the influence of Neptune. Now, this aspect typically promotes a deepening of personal and collective transformation with a focus on spiritual, psychological, and creative growth. So, I mean, we could just say as a collective, we're all going through this very transformative period, that even if it feels confusing right now, because it certainly can, and that's the first step of a Neptune transit, is this like, holy hell, where am I? You know, like you're in this room and it's like, well, I always say, right? Neptune is like dealing with it's trying to see through a thick fog or a dirty window. It's like, I can kind of see, but I'm really not sure. How do I get through this fog? That's totally normal. Okay, totally normal. Spiritual growth and transformation is going to be happening. This is just in general, and then I'll obviously I'll break it down when I get to each sign, but this would be excellent for spiritual growth and awakening. This sextile aspect encourages positive, harmonious changes to in your spiritual beliefs and practices. You might feel a greater connection to the deeper layers of your consciousness, as well as a stronger intuition or sense of purpose. And what I like about this is there's going to be this fear taken away, that's going to be dampened to go deep with our own consciousness in a way where we're willing, not only because a lot of us are very willing to look at our stuff, but in a way where we make friends with it. And in a way where it's not going to continue being an issue for us, where we'll become very comfortable sitting across the table from our deepest challenges, those parts of ourselves that we don't really like, where we're going to be willing to like really pull up a chair and say, all right, we need to figure this out together. Self, why do we seem to keep doing that thing? Let's have the conversation. And it's a beautifully supportive energy for the next 14 years to do this. So there's nothing to be mad at there. It's a time when you're going to go through very profound personal transformation with a sense of clarity and understanding, because that's what Pluto brings. Pluto is going to help. It's why they're very interesting energies to be sextiled. And what's going to happen here, it's going to help you align with your truth when it comes to your outward life. So the work's going to be happening internal, but you're going to be able to sort of see your 3D life as being reflective of those realizations. There is going to be a lot of psychological healing and a lot of psychological empowerment, as Pluto represents deep psychological transformation. We talk about this a lot, and Neptune brings an element of healing and insight. So, with this sextile, you're likely to experience emotional and psychological healing that helps you to understand and release old wounds. You may feel empowered to break free from limiting patterns and subconscious fears, allowing you to evolve and move forward with a clearer sense of self. I mean, this is, depending on where your placement is, this is excellent to get in front of where do you keep sabotaging yourself, having to do with, like, again, any kind of addiction, imbalanced behavior, whether it's to food, alcohol, whatever. Where are you a little messy in relationships? Where do you end up getting yourself into the wrong situations having to do with work? I mean, this sextile can be really empowering here. I love it for creativity. This transit so supports not only creativity, but anything artistic, any sort of endeavor like that. Neptune's influence enhances your imagination with while Pluto's, energy really does help you do those deep dives into the creative process. So it gives you the patience and the fortitude to actually allow yourself to go deep. It's a really good time for exploring new artistic avenues or transforming existing creative projects into something more profound and more meaningful. So going back to that book, that screenplay, that statue that you were creating, that book that you were writing, that um, whatever it was, right? And it doesn't have to actually even be so like literally artistic, but it could just even be having to do with a business, having to do with the way that you even approach relationship, going back and uh, approaching things in a way where you're going to allow yourself to have a deeper, more meaningful experience. So you may feel inspired to create works that reflect a deeper or more psychological theme for you. Love it, love it, love it for those of you who are artistically inclined, or you're just looking to create some sort of changes for yourself. Now, intuitive and mystical insights is certainly going to be happening. Let's keep in mind that Pluto rules psychology. It rules astrology as well. This is an excellent energy for getting into anything spiritual. Everyone study astrology, really using it as like even if you're in therapy, it helps fast track your therapy. Really understanding your Chiron, your Neptune, your Black Moon Lilith, really understanding the retrogrades in your chart, really understanding all of those things helps you to fast track your therapy. Okay. Beautiful energy there though, but this is just really going to help you. This sextile is going to develop a really enhance a connection to mystical or esoteric realms, And this doesn't have to only be to astrology, it could even be just to your religion, whatever religion you are. Religion's not a bad word, people, okay? We all have to have faith, especially now. We have to understand that there is a larger creator. It will help us to really navigate the oceans of what are going to be going on with this Pluto and Aquarius, particularly for the next, honestly, 20 years. There's a lot of value in that. I would never tell you what to believe or what to follow. That would be silly. That's just not my jam. But to understand that there is a much larger energy at play and that we're not alone, even when things seem really tricky for us to navigate. But a lot of you are going to be getting into the spiritual and you're going to be developing psychic gifts. You're going to be a lot more in tune with the energies around you. This could also open doors to understanding life just on a deeper and more metaphysical level. And I say that very broadly because not everybody's into astrology. Some people are more into tarot or Reiki crystals. Meditative practices, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is, but there's just going to be this idea where there is a connection to something larger, and that's beautiful because there's this, it helps to enhance just the collective understanding that we're not alone. And it's just going to help this healing, right? And just anything having to do with healing and transformation that's required, especially for relationships, especially those that you have a deep emotional or spiritual connection to, right? Could be a marriage partner, it could be a family member, it could be a best friend, or even a business partner. And you may experience a shift in how you relate to others, letting go of the past, of misunderstandings or illusions. It's a time when deep emotional bonds can become a lot more strengthened, right? Become more authentic, right? Authentic. Pluto likes authentic. Neptune, not so much, but Pluto wins. Pluto wins in this arm wrestle, right? So he's going to be stripping away illusions, which is going to be very interesting because Neptune, as confusing as he could be, because he's sextiling Pluto, there's going to be the stripping away of illusions, the rose-colored glasses, the things that we've been wanting to see, right? Things we've been trying to, convince ourselves on in those relationships, in that job, that we know in our gut is probably not going to be the best thing for us over the long term. But for whatever reason, we're not able to pull ourselves away. Well, this energy is really going to be able to tap into the hidden power that you have, give you the strength that you need to transform, to allow the personal transformation. But I want you to keep in mind here that unlike the most dramatic shifts that Pluto can sometimes bring, the sextile with Neptune tends to offer a lot of subtle and gradual changes. And that's a very important part of this. So you may not notice the immediate or dramatic shifts to what I'm saying, but over time, you are absolutely going to see how this transit enhances your overall life, bringing a slow and steady but evolutionary change in a particular part of your life. And again, I'm going to be speaking about it more specifically for each sign, but just understand, just in general, this is a very harmonious transit. It does encourage deep personal transformation, a lot of spiritual growth, as well as significant creative expression. It can help you heal old wounds, really tap into your inner power, embrace new perspectives with grace and ease. And even though the changes are going to be subtle, that's just going to be so profound over the long term. Okay. So really, really nice energies there, guys. I'm going to go right now. I'm going to start with our Aries friends. Let's just get into the signs right now. I'm not even going to stop the camera. I'm just going to go straight through. So Aries, Aries, Aries. So this is going to be especially for Aries risings, but also to a smidge of a lesser degree, Aries, Sun, and Moon. Okay. Um, and again, this is because the ascendant sign, which is the sign that's on the first house, is I want to say the most important placement because it's certainly not, but it does drive your chart. Okay. So, and that dictates all of your house placements for those of you who aren't sure. So you always want to listen to your rising sign first, then your sun and your moon. Okay. And then your Venus. I mean, you could listen to everything, but you want to understand that you're kind of filtering it if it's not your ascendant. But you can certainly be feeling it as well. Neptune in your sign. I mean, it goes in on the 30th. This is going to be making and marking a profound shift in your energy in a big way. Again, it lasts until 2039. For you, Aries, this is going to be very connected to spiritual awakening, creativity, but more than anything, lots of self-discovery. And what I mean by that is there's going to be this very profound focus on identity dissolution and rebirth, where you're going to be realizing that part of your old self is naturally and very organically kind of like melting away because you want it to. That's right. Because Neptune dissolves the ego, pushing pushing your energy, Aries here, to redefine who you are on a soul level. You may feel very drawn to spiritual practices, creative pursuits. So maybe getting into something that's very artistic. Because it's happening in your first house, it's a little bit of a wild card house. So this it could have to do with your career, could have to do with a hobby. You could feel very pushed to get into some sort of humanitarian causes as well. You could feel very deeply in that way. Um, When it comes to illusion and clarity, you do want to be mindful of self-deception or escapism with Neptune in the first house. Is you want to, Neptune can blur reality. So you want to ground yourself in practical routines to avoid confusion. You want to understand that the first house rules the body, right? Especially the head. Aries does rule the head, right? So anything from like the clavicle up. So when we have Neptune there, Neptune does rule, among other things, disease and disease. So when we have it in the first house, we have to make sure that we're treating our body with care. And we have to be a little extra careful of, our physical body in space. I'm being honest with you. It's not so much like an internal thing quite as much, but you want to be careful of not, it's anything that we could visibly see. Now, because it also rules the head, the brain and the mind are housed in the head. So when Neptune goes into the first house, we could experience disease and dis-ease, right, of the mind, anxiety, depression. These could be very real things. Nothing happens on purpose here. If you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling depressed, why? This is so important to actually get in front of what it is that is getting in the way. Now, for some of you, it's because you're feeling this strong desire to channel your energy into something that is more meaningful for you, more artistic, something that you resonate with. But because of circumstances that are going on in your life, you feel like you can't actually go after it, right? Whether it's work obligation, family obligation, whatever it is, but that doesn't take away from the fact that you could really be aching for something new. Now, this sextile Pluto is in your 11th house of goals and gains, right? It's money for the future. It is your future, right? Because it's in Aquarius. Aquarius in the 11th house is, especially over the next 10 to 15 years, it has to do with friends, group work, being with like-minded people. So you might feel very attracted to groups or friends or people who, you kind of share the same energy with. you know this could be a really nice energy for for change and transformation for a lot of you guys. There could also be a lot of change and transformation in the life of or pertaining to an older sibling, stepchildren, grandchildren, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, or adopted children, right? There could be some real changes there. I do want to say that your body might be more sensitive to substances and environments. So holistic healing methods can be really beneficial. A lot of times because this quincunx is the sixth house, there could be like the development of allergies. There could be the development of, um, especially anything external, like a rash or something like that, right? I just kind of want to throw that out there. So you do want to watch, the health situation there. And you want to respect your body, right? Because, Neptune can also be very self-sabotaging. And in the first house of body, there could be, we could be really hard on ourselves. Now, that could be literally physically, but you could also be very emotionally hard on yourself. And you want to be mindful of that. Okay. You really do want to be mindful of that. Because you guys are the warrior energy, and that Neptune in your sign asks you to channel the energy into compassion, even for yourself, leadership energy, so that you can have agency over your own life. And you're going to have a real sharp focus on the idea of fairness and justice. A highly romantic and artistic period for you for the next 14 years. I mean, this is awesome. For those of you who do music, anything having to do with art, writing, love connections could feel very faded, very like otherworldly, again, especially because it does rule the seventh house. Now, I do want to say a little aside that this Venus energy is also opposing the vertex in the seventh house, especially for the next 6 months after the recording of this video. Now, the seventh house is, now what is the vertex? The vertex is, in our birth chart, it's the part of our life where we have to understand and accept that that part of our life will experience doors closing and people leaving and situations absolutely ending so that we can have other experiences, right? Now, this Neptune is going to be opposing that vertex energy. And so it's just something to be mindful of because a lot of you could be like, I want to quit this job. I want to get out of this marriage, this relationship, whatever it is, or at least feeling like some sort of new beginning is necessary, right? It could certainly be that. Your marriage might be great. You may be deciding because the seventh house is also your energetic output at work, where you might be realizing, you know what? I don't want to do what I'm doing the way that I'm doing it anymore. You might really like the industry that you're in, but you don't want to keep doing it in the way that you're doing it. And that's where that tension could absolutely come in. Do you know what I mean? Now, when Neptune moves through the first house of your chart, you can begin to question what truly makes you happy and healthy. This could be a really, really spiritual time when you feel that you're inspired to great feats in your own life through intimate relationships, especially through creative endeavors, especially. But you have to deal first with the feeling of fighting through the fog in order to achieve your goals. So if you push too hard, then you're in danger of falling prey to illness. You could fall prey to depression, anxiety, anything like that. So you have to be aware of the land of illusion, right? Because that is Neptune in your energy. So right now, life could take on, especially over the next 6 months, a very dreamy and a very idealistic kind of energy where you might be seeing everything through rose-colored glasses. And you have to be very honest with yourself because this Pluto sextile is really going to push you to take the rose-colored glasses off. So you want to watch out for deception. It's much better to slow down and use this time to think about your morality, what really matters to you, where it is that you want to go, your spiritual values, really reflecting on your own life and really looking at your relationships. Because again, it's in that house of opposition of important relationships. Relax as much as possible. Some time by the water, out in nature will definitely do your soul a lot of good. Neptune loves that. Even if you've never been into this before, you'll feel a lot more into it now. And this is a once in a lifetime transit for you guys, Aries. This will never happen. This is a 14-year transit. Will never happen again. It's very powerful energy for reawakening your divine purpose and really getting in touch with what it is that you're supposed to be doing with your life. Okay, my friends? So I hope that was helpful. I'm sure I'll be speaking about this more, as we roll out, as certain things aspect it, but that is the general vibe for this transit in your energy, my friends. Take care now. Bye-bye. So, when Neptune enters Aries on March 30th, you guys are going to be experiencing this energy in your 12th house of the subconscious, dreams, and spiritual healing. Now, this transit will last until 2039, so it's going to be bringing a lot of inner transformation and soul level growth. Now, what this really is going to mean for you, first and foremost, is this idea of just kind of waking you up while also healing you. This is a highly mystical and introspective energy, Taurus. You're going to be really guided to release old emotional patterns and karmic wounds. So in that 12th house, a lot of you may be deciding to get some help with some sort of addiction, really staring down any sort of self-sabotaging behavior. And that self-sabotaging behavior, I mean, you might eat all the right things and do everything right, but maybe you have yourself in that relationship or that situation with some sort of like open enemy situation that's just going to become a lot more clear to you. Hidden desires and unconscious patterns are going to become a lot more clear to you as well. Neptune dissolves boundaries, so you might experience really in that 12th house very vivid dreams, very strong intuition, lots of psychic downloads. You do want to pay attention to subtle signs from the universe. I always say you want to go first with like the smelling things out of nowhere where that scent is not typical for a particular area. There could be a lot of communication in this energy with people who have crossed over, spiritual energies around you trying to send you subtle messages. So nothing is by mistake. I don't want you to don't be afraid of anything. Don't be afraid of anything. If you're not used to getting sort of downloads like that, it could be a little like nerve-wracking when it first starts. It's all like we're all just like there are no boundaries, right? There are no boundaries between here and the other side, and all good energies. Just make sure that you're not letting any sort of negative energies through. So you want to stay on the illuminated side of everything. All right. We don't want to be practicing any sort of like magic or anything like black magic during really for the next 14 years. Please don't do that, because you could very easily be sucked into a very negative space and not even realize it. But these hidden desires, these unconscious patterns, letting go of control. And you guys love stability, but Neptune in Aries is going to push you to really surrender to the unknown and let go. And yeah, because you guys rule the idea of stability. And I have to have enough money and I have to know what's going on in order to feel peaceful, right? You have to have that stability. But this energy is just going to be like, you know what? I have to just kind of let go and trust. You really just have to trust your intuition in this energy and just let go of any really rigid structures that no longer serve you, where you're like, I'm never moving there. I'm never going to go after be with that kind of person in a relationship. I'm never going to work in a place like that. All of these nevers, all of these things. I'm never going to allow myself to think in a certain way. I'm never, let it go, because the change is really coming in and really wants to work with you. Excellent for spiritual practices, anything artistic, working behind the scenes. It could be in healing, it could be anything artistic, it could be anything having to do with humanitarian effort. So, and what I mean by artistic, it's like you could be the creative energy behind the scenes to some project. Very supportive energy there, right? So, nice energy also for working from home, I do want to say. You may feel the need to withdraw from the world to recharge and connect with your higher self more than you ever had in your life. And you may feel it, right? Where suddenly it's like, and I've been working with a lot of you, a lot of Taurus risings personally, and they're like, Jackie, like, why am I feeling so hermit-like? Like, I don't want to go out. I really know I should, but I really, really don't want to. Like, yeah, I mean, this energy can absolutely bring that. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that, but you don't want to isolate yourself from people. Great energy for creativity, as I've been saying, spirituality, as I've been saying. Connecting to any sort of humanitarian effort, excellent for that. You do want to people a little bit. You do want to people a little bit. Some potential challenges here can be emotional confusion and self-sabotaging patterns can easily surface when Neptune goes into the 12th house. He's in domicile there, first of all. I should have said that first. So that's where he lives, right? And so, again, the energy of self-sabotaging behavior. So the confusion could be almost on steroids there for you when it comes to self-sabotaging behavior. So you really want to be careful that if you're doing something a little too much, that's not good for you, it could very easily really end up in a situation where everything kind of spirals out of control. So you want to be a little careful there. Another potential challenge could be feeling lost or uncertain about your path, and hidden enemies or unresolved karmic cycles could arise, but not for no reason. It's all for healing. All of these energies are for healing. What you have to keep in mind here is that Neptune in the 12th wants you to heal. But because he's very connected to disease and disease, He can use some sort of disease or dis-ease. And when I say dis-ease, I mean addiction, depression, anxiety. Disease can literally mean some sort of illness in that 12th house space, right? Having to do with your physical body because it's in Aries. Um, but it's meant to push you to the point so that you get some help that ends up changing your path. It ends up bringing you into that next space. Now, the gift here for you guys is the unbelievable spiritual growth and emotional release that's going to be going on. It's going to be a deepening of your connection to higher wisdom and creativity. There's no question about that. And there's going to be a very profound healing of ancestral patterns, breaking free from limited beliefs. Really important for you guys to understand. Now, it's not uncommon for the initial effects, again, of this Neptune energy to just be confusion and disillusion, perhaps even a sense of loss in the early stages of it here, like for the next year or two. Gradually, awareness emerges and you're able to see what's underlying the illusions and what you can gain by changing your course and embracing values that will truly enhance your path, the path that you're walking. Neptune helps you see the truth of any situation, but not after. There's got to be this preliminary period of confusion, right? But it allows you to see your own truth. So currently, the demands of a busy life for you guys can feel a bit overwhelming, resulting in feeling that you just want to get the hell out of Dodge. You want to escape. So, if possible, you want to make sure that you do that in a responsible manner. You would be wise to slow down and shed as many as of your duties as possible. This is not a good transit. I know it's 14 years, but really trying to pull back, make sure that you're not escaping into your work. Create more work-life balance. You're not escaping into any sort of addiction. There's got to be some sort of creativity there. Meditation and reflection can really help you to feel at peace with yourself and the world. Getting in touch with yourself on a regular basis would be really good in the way of like a retreat, days at the beach, days at the park, losing yourself in like, anything artistic and create like a museum, anything like that. So prioritize rest, meditation, and journaling. Work with energy healing, dream work, sound baths, anything like that that's going to help you to recenter yourself, release old grudges, forgive yourself, forgive other people. Because the 12th house also represents, it's the house of endings, but it's also things that we haven't fully let go of yet, right? So trusting the process, because this is all about clearing the past to prepare for the new identity when Neptune enters your sign in 2039, right? And trust me, those 14 years are going to go very fast. So you want to make sure that you're doing all of the work now, right? On the early end of it, so you could have the best experience. Okay, guys, I hope that was helpful in some way. You guys take care. Bye-bye. I hope you guys are doing great. Let's talk about Neptune for you guys entering Aries March 30th. It's going to be happening in your 11th house of community, friendships, goals and gains, future visions, all the way until 2039. And so what is this going to mean for you? Oh, and by the way, the sextile is going to be happening with Pluto in the ninth house of publishing, marketing, advertising, higher education, higher mindedness, travel, foreign land, foreign individuals. So it could even be just dealing with people from foreign cultures. Even if you're not traveling, you might be, in your home state, your hometown, whatever, but where you're engaging with people who are different or who are from foreign land, foreign culture. Ninth house is also law, legalities, local governance. So with this is in a sextile, so this is very nicely indicated. Of any sort of legal situation that you might have going on, great for higher education, great for expansion. Overall wealth, by the way, is really, really good here because that ninth house is ruled by Jupiter, right, which is about very connected to wealth. So when talking about the changes that Pluto is going to be creating, now with this sextile to Neptune, it's this way the dreams can be happening. Could be some confusion as well. We have to talk about the good, but we also have to acknowledge the challenging because that's just the way life is. So what is this going to mean for you? Number one, dreaming big and manifesting your vision, Gemini. I am not just saying this. This Neptune in Aries will dissolve limiting beliefs around your future goals and your ambitions. And you guys need that because Chiron has been in your 11th house, the wound of self. I'm not good enough, analysis paralysis, having imposter syndrome, all that stuff. Neptune going in there, it's like, especially initially, he's going to be working, he's going to be in a really nice conversation for the first couple of weeks with the sun. So it's like really thinking about your career, your happiness. This is excellent for falling in love. This is excellent for any sort of medical procedures, by the way. Very good there. I know that seems sort of like out of left fields, but I'm just looking at your chart here, and it's like 11th house is also advances in science, advances in medicine. It's humanitarian energy. And with the sextile to Pluto in Aquarius, there could be a lot of communication and a lot of balancing out when it comes to some sort of health issue as well. But this idea of you feeling called, it's like really this calling to pursue your dreams with courage as well as with creativity and really getting off your tuchus and getting it done, right? Spiritual and soul aligned connections are going to be happening for you guys, especially in the realm of work. Now you may attract a soulful an artistic or even really great humanitarian group of people, an individual, a business partner. But it's a lot of community energy, right, in that 11th house. But the thing is, these energies are going to inspire you to grow, right? Your social circle could shift towards more spiritually or socially conscious groups. Now, the 11th house, where Neptune is ruled by Uranus. So everybody's 11th house is getting very activated, especially over the next 2 years, because Uranus is on the move this year, right? Uranus actually goes into your sign the end of July for the first time. It's going to dip back, but then it's going to go in. So big changes, guys, when it comes to your future. Technology is going to be a very instrumental and integral part of this next phase of your life in whatever way it might roll out for a good majority of you, right? Because Uranus is going to be in your energy. It does rule technology. Neptune is in the 11th house, which is the house that is ruled by Uranus. So making the connections there, whatever it is, you're getting something out there to the world. So it could be through, again, humanitarian causes, group work could certainly be that. But for a lot of you, it is going to include technology as well. Just this idea though that you're like with like-minded people. Now, idealism and compassion for humanity is going to be really amped up. So you can find yourself supporting causes that uplift the collective or involved in something that's meant for the masses. And your heart is so pure when you're doing this. Like there's a sincere belief in what it is that you're doing. Because if you're doing something where that connection is not there, it's going to fall away. I mean, this is a time where you're going after your dreams, Jim. I mean, come on. The 11th house represents your future Neptunus dreams, right? Going after it. You want to keep your feet on the ground all day, every day. A little difficult to do with Neptune in that space. You don't want to, because the good things are going to be happening. Stay humble. Keep your feet on the floor. Really important. Yeah, don't get a big head, stay humble, grounded, all of that. Yeah, because this could be like blurred boundary kind of energy where you could think too big, you could think too small, you could be kind of all over the spectrum, right? This is really good for you. But the fog that Neptune does bring, because he does bring fog, he does. It's blurred boundaries, and this could create some challenges when it comes to friendships. This could create some challenges when it comes to dealing with the collective as well. You want to make sure that you're not overstepping boundaries, that you are exercising respect and you're staying within, healthy boundaries, right? In any energy. Now, I do want to say the 11th house also represents older siblings, stepchildren, grandchildren, daughter-in-laws, son-in-laws, as well as our adopted children. And so, we have to be careful that we're not overstepping boundaries, having to do with like a daughter-in-law, son-in-law, stepchildren, grandchildren, right? Keep our stuff to ourselves. It's not always easy, right? Not always easy because we have a lot of opinions, but you don't want it over the next 14 years. This is going until 2039. Whatever's going on, be somebody that they listen to, but really watch what you say, watch these things, right? You just want to be a little careful there. You just want to be mindful of toxic dynamics, deception, or unrealistic expectations when it comes to any of these social networks. Now, some potential challenges could be feeling disillusioned by group dynamics or social causes. You could feel kind of disillusioned where it's like, I have this belief, I want to get it out there to the world. And if it's not initially received in the way that you initially in your mind's eye saw it being received, you could feel very dejected and very disillusioned. It's not real. You're still making an impact. Okay. You want to watch out for over identifying with others' dreams and losing sight of your own as well. So, this could be in any relationship. This could also be throwing yourself too much into other people's stuff, too much into a humanitarian cause, too much into the life of one of your children, because it does oppose the fifth house. You want to really, first of all, be somebody who's helpful. And especially when it comes to your kids, Gemini, even if your kids are asking you for all the advice, and if it has to do with some sort of business situation that they want to take part in, or some sort of relationship situation that they have going on, or whatever it is, you want to stay really balanced. But then if they're like, Mom, Dad, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, whatever, I really want you to tell me what you think. You have to be like, all right, well, the thing is, I honestly believe that this is your life to live. So why don't you tell me, what is it that you wish for your life to look like in the next 5 to 10 years? And then let's talk about that rather than you saying, well, I think and I believe and right? Because we always want to do that. We always have an opinion, right? As Gemini, I'm a Gemini sun. I'm not Gemini rising, I'm a Gemini sun, but yeah, right. We have to be careful of that. We want to be, just watch out for that, right? Because the boundary situation can be a little wonkadoo there. Now, it's not uncommon for the initial effects, like I said, of Neptune here moving into any sign to initially be a little confusing. You might experience a little disillusion when it comes to, and a lot of you are probably feeling it already, like, where's my life going? What am I doing? But at the same time, feeling this kind of loss. And the loss could be anything. The loss could be an older sibling. The loss could be, a daughter-in-law, son-in-law, grandchild, stepchild. The loss could be connected to any of them, but it doesn't have to be. It could also just be like this loss of where it is that you thought your life was going, and sort of putting that idea to bed, right? And there will be this gradual awareness emerging, and you will be able to see what's underlying the illusions, right? That maybe you've been looking at your life through, and what you can gain by changing your course and embracing the values that you have that will truly and in the most authentic way really enhance the path that you're walking on. Now, currently you're searching for perhaps friendships with spiritual or humanitarian people who have the same ideas, the same ideologies as you, possibly through a group of like-minded people, or it could be through social media, or it could just be this very a strong desire to connect with people like that. But during this time, you may spend some of your time dreaming about your own personal goals and visions and what you want to share with others. And that's good. I mean, and I might have mentioned this in my video last week. This transit reminds me very much of like the painter Claude Monet, who was a French artist, and he did like you would recognize him because he's very duplicated out in, like fast art pop culture, the lily pads and the lily ponds, and the lily pads and the lily ponds. And what he did though was, you know, his wife and even friends would come over to his home and he would just be sitting at his window in his bedroom looking out into the field, and they'd ask him like, why aren't you working? Why aren't you sketching, or why aren't you painting? And he would always say, I am doing that. And he was just looking out because what he was doing was he was thinking, and then he would think about, and I shared this a couple of times for those of you who maybe don't know this about him. He would envision a scene and then he would paint it and then he would build it. So, for those of you who have ever gone to France, to Giverny, if you've ever gone to his home, if you didn't know the history, when you go to his property, you go up to into his bedroom and you see the lily pond, and you see everything, the sunflower fields and everything that he painted. He painted it first and then he had it built. That was his process. So he would sit and imagine, sketch it and create it, and then implement, even with his art, right? So this was how he worked. And this is very much the energy that I'm getting for a lot of you. So if you're feeling like very in your head, you're going through a lot of the creative process, get out there and go for a walk, go to the park, go to a museum, get inspired, right? That period before implementation should be respected rather than getting mad at yourself and saying, why do I keep procrastinating? There's a lot of value in that forethought. I hope I didn't, Mercury's retrograde and I'm getting my behind kicked, particularly with this one. This is a very powerful one. And so I hope that made sense for you. Surround yourself with creative people who support your growth, visionaries, healers, make connections with people who are involved in those things. You really do want to balance idealism with discernment when choosing any sort of collaborators as well. So if you're thinking about getting involved, in any sort of collaboration, be very eyes wide open, because that 11th house is very collaborative energy and Neptune can be victimizing behavior. So you want to be very careful of any sort of partnership that you might be getting into, or any sort of group work. The creativity could be there. There could be a lot of growth, a lot of expansion, a lot of wealth, and all of that. But you want to make sure that you're not being taken for a ride, that everybody is on the up and up, because with that Neptune energy in there, you want to make sure that, no one is being deceitful in there. But your gift of communication is really going to inspire and uplift other people. And honestly, Jem, this is really inviting you to lead with your heart and innovation, creating a very, very different type of future for yourself as well as the collective. The collective is very involved in this, and it could even be the collective on a very personal level, right? Where your collective is your daughter-in-law, your son-in-law, your extended family, your older siblings, all of those other 11th house energies. But it's a very nice transit. You just want to make sure your feet stay on the floor and that you don't allow yourself to wear rose-colored glasses when it comes to anything creative and getting your stuff out there, okay? Realism, there's a huge gift in it, okay? All right, my friends, you take care now. Bye-bye. There, I hope you guys are doing great. So when Neptune goes into Aries at the end of the month on the 30th, you guys are going to be experiencing this transit through your 10th house of career, public image, life purpose. It's the highest house in your chart. It's the most public. It's an angular house, which says action is going to be happening here. So what does this mean for you guys? First and foremost, redefining your purpose. A lot of you guys might be feeling this already. Neptune dissolves old structures, and this is going to be pushing you to release any outdated career paths and step into a soul-aligned mission. For those of you, particularly who are still working, not everybody's working. That 10th house is also the status of your marriage. It has to do with the plans that you've been, imagining for yourself over the long term. This is dissolving old structures, dissolving that old ideology, dissolving what has been. This is a very spiritual, or it can even be a creative kind of energy when it comes to how you're approaching life moving forward, whether it's career or whether it's having to do with your long-term plans. You may feel very drawn to healing professions, the arts, or humanitarian work. Your career will become less about material success and more about serving a higher purpose. Now, I've said this over and over and over again to my Cancer friends that you are one sign that is really not able, it's not that you can't, you're not happy doing something just for the money. You have to believe in it. You have to feel connected to it. And if you're not, it's so, so terribly difficult. Wherever a Cancer energy is, I'm even like that. I have Cancer on the seventh house, which represents the energetic output. When it comes to relationships, my most important relationships, I have to feel that connection. I have to believe in my energetic output of what I give out in my work every day. I will, to me, it can't just be about the money. I have to connect. I know everybody has to make a living. True. Okay. But it can't just be about the money. Right. And sometimes that might even be a fight for you where it's like, oh, but I have to do this because of the money. That's not going to be a problem anymore. Like literally energetically, you're just going to kind of be releasing that. Okay. There could be some confusion though around career and career identity, your long-term path, especially initially. So I just want to call that out. Okay. If you're feeling confused right now, on brand. That confusion could very well last, especially the next year, year and a half, could certainly manifest like that. Don't get sucked down the rabbit hole of negativity. That it's all because things are shifting for you to take a different approach to something, okay? There could be moments of uncertainty or disillusionment with your current job, with your public role, with just the path that you're on, even having to do with your marriage right now. Trust that this is part of the spiritual transformation process. Please, 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 okay? Increased visibility and influence, absolutely. You could become very known for your empathy and your compassion and your intuitive leadership in your particular field. There you could be very, very good, especially, and I know this sounds oddly specific, but especially for those of you who do something behind the scenes. Because again, Aries is a leadership energy, but Neptune rules behind the scenes. And the 10th house being career, 10th house also does represent government. So doing anything for the government, a supportive role behind the scenes, like unbelievably like on point for that. Um, Especially if you're in an arena where part of your job is to look for sabotaging behavior, right? Anything like that is so nicely aspected. If you happen to be in that particular arena, very good there. This could also be really getting you clear on what do you actually want out of your marriage? Where do you actually want to go? And those answers are going to be answered, but initially there could be a lack of clarity or direction again in on your path right now, whether it's your career, the status of your marriage, or where it is that you're going. Another challenge could be some sort of unrealistic expectation or being taken advantage of in a professional setting. With that Neptune in the 10th house, absolutely. Where you feel like you're trying to get ahead, and for some reason, why are you being overlooked for the promotion? Why are why? Because you're not supposed to be there. That's the thing. If you feel like you're being taken advantage of in a professional setting, but you feel like otherwise it's the right place for you to be, you need to get in front of that and you need to have very open conversations with the right people because you have the sextile to Pluto. And Pluto is in domicile in the eighth house, which is where that Pluto energy is. And he is very much about stripping away the illusion, creating change, and he wants to be in control. So having the conversations doesn't have to be aggressive. Be gentle. Get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar in this kind of energy, right? But having the willingness, having the getting the nerve up, you know what I mean, to actually have these conversations where it's like, hey, you know what? That is not fair. I'm not okay with the way that this is going. And I think we just really need to revisit how this is handled, in a respectful way. Again, not in an attacky kind of way. But those are some of the challenges, You could feel very emotionally vulnerable in the public eye, feel very emotionally vulnerable at work, feel emotionally vulnerable in your marriage, especially if you feel like you don't have the what it is that you need to maybe leave an unhealthy marriage, or feel like you're able to leave that toxic job, right? There's gonna Remember what I said at the beginning of the video, this sextile to Pluto, this is a slow moving energy. So slowly being able to get yourself there. Now, there are a lot of gifts to this energy, and for you, it's going to be manifesting a dream career that aligns with your soul calling. That's happening, but you're going to first have to deal with the confusion, not feeling very good about what it is that you're getting into, right? You are becoming a source of inspiration and a healing energy for other people, even if it's just that you're somebody who people, for whatever reason, feel very comfortable to confide in, to a shoulder to lean on, to run a project, to be the better person in that relationship as well. For those of you who are in a marriage where you're not happy, this transit, it's not only Neptune in Aries, it's that it's also sextiling Pluto in the eighth house. You have a lot of energy available to create very positive change and transformation if you want it. If you don't want it, you also have very good energy supporting you to get a divorce. Depends on what you want. It's the beauty of the human condition. We have choice, right? But being able to work through the challenges and having the voice and finding the words to be able to be a lot more impactful when it comes to feeling heard, and not allowing yourself to be all completely in your feels, right? You don't want to just be in your feels. You want to be able to exercise some really good common sense and be able to ask yourself the larger question. I'm feeling this way in this job, in this marriage, having to do with the path that I'm on. Okay, and you could be blaming out, it's because of this, that, and all of that. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Am I basing all of these things in actual reality, or is this more just how I'm feeling? Because I'm feeling a little vulnerable, I'm feeling scared, or I'm feeling a particular way, right? And being able to answer that question is very, very important during a transit like this. Now, it's not uncommon for the initial effects of Neptune to be confusion and disillusion, and perhaps even a sense of loss. And this is like for all of us, right? Gradually, the awareness is going to reach the surface where the underlying illusions, that maybe you've been holding on to can change, right? And then you can end up seeing things for what they are and really embracing a beautiful kind of new approach, I suppose we could say, to your path. Now, as Neptune works its way through the 10th in your chart, and again, can be a little confusing in all those 10th house energy, whether it's your career, your the path that you're on, it could shake your confidence. So I just want you to understand that, right? For the next year and a half, especially. Now, again, I don't know what else is in your 10th house. In other words, in your chart, I don't know what this Neptune energy is working with. But your confidence could certainly be shaken. In the past, you may have held tightly to certain ambitions for your career, which now can easily, in this energy, seem very pointless. Okay. It may be that you've reached a pinnacle in your professional life and social status, which just don't hold the allure for you that it once did. Same thing for a marriage or some sort of life direction that you were on. It doesn't hold that same, allure, that same attractiveness as it once did. You may even feel tempted to give up everything. And in some cases, you could find yourself temporarily directionless. even unemployed. Some of you could find yourself unemployed. Please, please, please do not despair. The lesson of this transit is to indeed is to reassess your goals in the light of your higher purpose and not your personal ambitions. It's a really good time to consider the more spiritual aspects to your career, such as your gift to humanity, and how could you serve through your career rather than how it can serve you. And you now have the opportunity to make those changes to ensure that your professional life does begin to reflect your spiritual values, your artistic talents. Material ambition no longer drives you. This is not to say that you're not going to be concerned about money, of course, right? You're Cancer, you will always be concerned about your emotional stability, and money is often, indicated in that, but it's not going to be all about the money, okay? Because that's just not going to be the way you're going. This transit can, for a lot of you, it can reflect retirement from work, a change of career. Um, for many of you, absolutely the joy of being a grandparent, and anything that's like really beautifully satisfying, right? That gives us purpose in life. For some of you, it could even be parenting for the first time. But I feel like there's a heavy grandparenting vibe for a lot of you. But, let go of old rigid career goals and allow your intuition to guide you towards new opportunities. Don't be afraid to explore creative or spiritual avenues such as art, music, holistic healing, religion, organized or otherwise. Set very healthy boundaries in professional relationships to avoid burnout. So important. Listen, I mean, Cancer, if somebody's like, oh, you can do this for me, right? If you have 12 million things on your plate, say, I would love to help you out, but I just can't do that right now. That's setting a professional boundary. It's not being nasty. It's just exercising self-respect and a personal boundary. You do want to trust that your soul's work will naturally unfold over time, over the course of this transit. And I'm going to tell you what, a lot of you are going to become astrologers, psychologists, detective. A lot of you are going to be really into healing your ancestral patterns. A lot of you are going to be getting very straight with your finances. Neptune sextiling the eighth house of the stock market, other people's money and investments. Oh, very nice. Very nice. So could be excellent for gaining some sort of inheritance, settling some sort of insurance payout, settling some sort of legal situation that maybe up to this point didn't seem possible. It now seeming possible, but this is ultimately about surrendering control and allowing your true purpose to emerge for greater fulfillment, right? And as well as recognition, right? This because it's going to bring that 10th house is very connected to recognition. So there is going to be a lot of that energy going on. So some challenging aspects to it, but ultimately so, so positive, so positive. And again, really good for paying off debt with the sextile. Great for debt, great for investments, money coming your way. Again, that eighth house, it's money coming from other people. So it's not from work that you do. So a lot of you may be inheriting, getting some sort of divorce settlement, some sort of, you know what I'm saying? Like it could be anything in that arena. All right, my friends, hopefully that was helpful. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. See you next time. Bye-bye. You guys are doing great. So let's talk about Neptune going into Aries, getting in there on March 30th. You guys are going to be experiencing this transit through your ninth house of higher education, higher mindedness, travel, philosophy, spiritual expansion, politics, law, legalities, local governance, publishing, marketing, advertising. It is also the manifestation of father energy. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. Now, the ninth house is ruled by Jupiter. It's where Sagittarius lives. It's ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter really is very indicative of our wealth. It's very indicative of our expansion. So expect there to be, at the very least, with that Neptune in there, spiritual expansion. And for a lot of you, higher knowledge. Neptune does dissolve old belief systems. And this is going to be pushing you guys to seek a much deeper meaning and spiritual truth just in general in life. So expect a lot of you to be reevaluating your religion, organized or otherwise, your old beliefs. It's because it's very connected to belief systems, politics, the way that you communicate even. Because the ninth house, it's third house, ninth house axis, they work together. And that's having to do with the learning as well as communication. The ninth house actually also rules negotiating, right? So being able to negotiate things a lot more differently. You're certainly going to feel more drawn to esoteric teaching, mystical practices, ancient wisdom traditions, old ways of doing things, thinking about updated ways of doing old things. I hope that makes sense to you guys, right? A lot of energy connected to foreign lands and foreign travel as well. So a lot of you could be connecting with new relationships that either are abroad or they're just with people from a different culture than you are. It does open the doors though for traveling to also to sacred places or connecting with other cultures, but with the end goal of expanding your consciousness. Creativity, inspired teaching is certainly going to be happening here. You could become a spiritual guide, a teacher. Third house, ninth house is actually the axis of the teacher. You could become a healer, sharing your wisdom and creativity with others. That could be very well indicated for a lot of you. But it is a faith over fear kind of energy. As Neptune in Aries asks you to trust your intuition and higher guidance, even when the path isn't clear. So this is like, honestly, it's like faith with a capital F, seriously. Now, some potential challenges, some little blind spots could be feeling lost or uncertain about your life direction, because that ninth house is like, where am I supposed to be going? What am I supposed to be doing? With the Neptune in there, with that foggy energy, there could be a lot of confusion. Now it is sextiling Pluto, which is in the seventh house of marriage and partnerships as well as contracts. So within that sextile, you're going to have the ability to heal challenges that have come up in relationship, or you're going to have the nerve to end something once and for all. It could be one or the other. It depends on what else is in your chart. But there are certainly circumstances that are going to be changing when it comes to your seventh house, which is marriage, your boss or bosses, your energetic output at work. So some of you can be changing your energetic output at work. Maybe you're getting published. Maybe you're going to start teaching what it is that you typically do. Maybe you're going to be traveling abroad to actually exercise your work, right? To do whatever it is that you do. A lot of you are just going to be very connected to maybe changing the amount that you work so that you could travel more. Some of you are going to be in that space. There are many different ways that it can manifest, but you could feel kind of lost again and uncertain when it comes to these larger energies. And because the ninth house opposes the third, which is where your siblings and extended family live, there could be a lot of, and even old friends, there could be a lot of epiphanies going on, trying to process some sort of circumstance that's rolled out having to do with a sibling or extended family, or even just your, even because it's you have Libra in the third house, it could just be communication within your relationship, a lot of confusion within communication within your relationship. So I do have to say that if the relationship is challenged in your most important relationships, and there is that confusion, there can be this very strong draw to a wanderlust kind of energy, where you start to perhaps look outside of the marriage, or you start to look for a different job, or you start to look for a different way of exercising your craft on the day to day. Because you can easily fall into escapism, and we can escape into drugs and alcohol, or relationships and other people, or we can escape into work. We just want to escape, right? But you could also fall into spiritual bypassing, where it's like you don't even care about spirituality, like God who, spirit who, you just want to be a little careful of that. Another potential challenge could be feeling misled by an unrealistic belief system. Your energy is very open. You have to be careful here in the ninth house, because this is where spiritual leaders also hang out. And so you could be kind of led astray by a false teacher. You could also be led astray by somebody who's blowing a bunch of smoke up your butt when it comes to like being published or getting out there and advertising and marketing. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm not saying it's all bad, but you want to make sure that you're dealing with authentic energies, because Neptune in the ninth house can bring that publishing contract. It could bring that travel abroad, but it could also bring the person who is, whispering a boatload of BS, sweet nothings in your ear, in any of those arenas as well. So you just want to make sure that, again, both feet are on the ground, as this is for everybody. Now, the gift here for you guys is a profound spiritual awakening. There's going to be a lot of spiritual growth. There's no doubt about it, but keeping in mind that spiritual growth can happen not only having to do with your boss or energetic output at work, but within your most important relationships. But because it's sextiling that Pluto energy, it's going to be a slow transformation. So I don't want you guys to look at like, yeah, 6 months, we're going to have the conversation, everything's going to be great. This is a slow, over time, mending, fixing, and getting to the core of something. If you feel like, and only you know this, if something is beyond repair, and you know what I mean by that, right? You're going to have the energy to be able to transition yourself out of it, but you want to make sure that you don't live in this. Grass is definitely going to be greener on the other side. Let me just throw myself into this energy and let me travel and escape and go and go and go. You want to be careful, because you're very susceptible for getting seduced by energies that are the challenging side of Neptune, which is very seductive, but very empty, where it ends up being just a shadow that you're chasing of an idea, of an opportunity, of something like that, right? Doesn't mean it can't happen. It also rules our dreams, but you want to, again, I'm going to say it a million times, keep your feet on the ground. You're going to be manifesting a new philosophy in your life. You're going to be realigning a life purpose that's more in sync with your soul, connecting with the soul tribes and communities that actually inspire you, whatever it is. That ninth house, it could be just connecting to a spiritual community, going abroad, a political community as well, right? Because ninth house is politics, your overarching belief system, right? But again, you just want to make sure that at every turn, you understand that, you know, anything that is connected to an unrealistic belief system where reality is not being tapped into. It seems to be a big problem these days, right? We want to be very careful. We want to make sure that we're in reality and we're looking at the actual reality of circumstances, and not a bunch of uh hyperbolic, um just nonsense. I want to call it other things, but I shouldn't. Just a lot of nonsense. You just want to make sure that wherever you are, you're within the realm of reality, okay? Embrace learning, traveling, studying any sort of spiritual tradition. Trust your inner wisdom rather than seeking any sort of external validation. You do want to practice meditation, journaling, creative expression in order to stay grounded. And by discerning, you really do want to be discerning about who you follow and learn from. And by doing that, you're going to become a lot more in tune with what works for you, right? This is absolutely about expanding your consciousness and stepping into your role as a leader for some of you, of spirituality, of leadership role of education. It could be a political leadership role. It could even just be local. Um, some sort of leadership role when it comes to, again, marketing, advertising, you know, getting something out there to the world. It could be really, really good for you. Again, you just want to make sure that you're keeping your feet on the ground. Now, when it comes to any sort of legal situation, because again, it does rule, ninth house does rule lawyers, local governance. When we have Neptune in there, I kind of half joked about it last time, but I want to make sure you guys don't end up in jail, because you could end up in jail that way, because Neptune rules the 12th house of prisons, and the ninth house is the house of law, legalities, and governance. That's where the police hang out, in the ninth house, not only the politicians and the lawyers, okay? So we want to make sure, well, it's ninth house and 11th house for police, depending on which level we're talking about. So you just want to make sure no one's getting arrested, okay? Um, but also, keeping your spidey senses turned up for any sort of legal situation that you're in. You want to make sure that um, you have a good lawyer, you know, you want to make sure that, make sure they have a track record. Be careful of anybody who's overpromising anything. This could also be a space where you're finally getting your book published. You're finally getting somebody to invest money in that screenplay. You're fine, something like that. Very nice energy there, having to do with the ninth house. But I'm not saying this to be negative, Leo. You just want to make sure that you don't have rose-colored glasses on with anything that is going to be coming in to expand you. Doesn't mean that you can't expand and have all of the joy, but it's because your energy is very susceptible to being, remember, because Neptune is very connected to being victimized, but also victimizing as well, right? Regarding health, again, is the manifestation of father energy. I do want to just say that this is a 14-year transit, and if your father is still with you, there may be some challenges, particularly when it comes to the ability of physical ability of being able to get around, but there could also be, an onset of like dementia, because in the sign of Aries, Aries rules from the clavicle up, which of course the head houses the brain and the mind. And when we have anything like Chiron, which we do have Chiron in there, as well as Neptune, which rules disease and disease, there can be the development of circumstances connected to, like, early dementia, or the further development of some sort of dementia, struggles with anxiety, depression. There could be struggles there for some of you. At the same time, some of you may be dealing with manifestation of father energy, where your father is actually experiencing a time period, particularly over the next 2 years, where there is some sort of dream that he had his heart set on that's finally happening. So maybe he's retiring, or maybe he's getting a promotion, or maybe he's doing something like that. But there are many different ways these energies can manifest. So I like to just throw a bunch out there, and, so that we can resonate with as many of you as possible. But I hope this was helpful for you guys. Again, those of you who are in a challenging period in your marriage, this is going to be go time, especially over the next year. What is it going to be? Are you going to really work on leveling up your marriage, or is it time to say goodbye to your most important relationships, or even that job, that you're doing? All right, my friends, until next time, you guys take care now. Bye-bye. I hope you guys are doing great. Let's talk about Neptune entering Aries for you guys. He goes in on the 30th of this year all the way through 2039. So you're going to experience this transit through your eighth house of transformation, intimacy, shared resources, as well as shadow work. So expect a lot of deep emotional and spiritual healing. Neptune dissolves old emotional wounds and karmic patterns in this space, leading to profound inner transformation and soul level healing. There could be a lot of mystical connection to sexuality and intimacy. You're going to crave very deep, soulful connections. And you may even experience karmic or spiritual partnerships. However, boundaries will be essential to avoid codependency or any kind of illusions in relationship. Because remember, Neptune can be victimized very easily. Could be a victim, but could also be victimized here. And so, especially when it comes to shared resources, so we do want to be careful here. Financial institutions and shared wealth, there could be some unexpected shifts here through inheritances, investments, joint ventures, but it's important to stay grounded and avoid any sort of risky decisions. Exploring the occult and hidden realms or something that's really going to feel like a natural fit for you. You may feel very drawn to astrology, to tarot, mediumship, or energy healing. And I throw tarot in there, even though tarot is typically very Pisces, Neptune does rule Pisces. So the two of these together, you could learn them at the same time, or you could develop that gift at the same time, just to better understand the unseen forces influencing your life. And I do just want to note a couple of challenges that you may be experiencing. Could be, or for everybody in a certain part, there is going to be emotional confusion or power struggles in intimate relationships. A lot of it has to do with that Neptune energy in there because Pluto rules your eighth house. So definitely over the next 2 years, everyone's eighth house is being impacted because Pluto is settling into Aquarius. And, this is happening in your sixth house. So day-to-day responsibilities, your day-to-day workings, is everything in alignment with, who's contributing money, who's showing up equally when it comes to responsibilities. Do you know what I mean? A lot of you could be, I just want to say with the sextile here between Neptune, eighth house, sixth house, with Pluto. Sixth house also rules your day-to-day work environment as well as your health. It also rules your pets, right? So there could be some sort of relationship developed at work. You can meet somebody new at work. Could certainly do that. There could be also some changes in your health as well that are going to have to be looked at and dealt with. There's could be financial instability and deception in shared resources, as I mentioned as well. Fear of letting go or surrendering control. As Neptune, the eighth house is very controlling. When we have an active transit in there, we don't want to let go of something, right? So the eighth house has to do with like inheritance, insurance payouts. So that could be a little trippy if like you inherit something and you're supposed to share it, but maybe you're an executor, and then maybe you're like, hey, I don't think I should have to share it. Well, I don't want to share it. Ooh, be very careful if that's the case, because that could be some really challenging karma that you're generating there. You want to make sure that you're not being deceitful when it comes to any sort of transaction. You want to make sure that you're on the up and up. This is not a good energy. I'm just going to say it straight up to invest in the stock market, to make any sort of big investment. It's not. It's simply not. You're playing with fire. You will have to go into it knowing that. Okay. Those of you who are already in investing, you want to go long term, long term. Okay. It's nothing where you're going for those short, spiky wins. That's not going to bode well for you. Okay. So just move forward, considering yourself warned. Okay. Just because Neptune, I've seen it do a number on people in there. That's also, the house of taxes and debt. Okay. So just make sure that you're in front of that. I mean, that's it. And how can you be in front of that? Well, if you have debt, reach out for some help if you know that there's no way in hell in any reasonable way that you could get in front of it, whether it's through some sort of debt consolidation, trying to get some kind of loan, whatever it is, right? There are going to be options for you to get the help, but you have to be the one to sort of, get out there and go for it. Now, it's not uncommon for the initial effect of Neptune to be confusion and to feel very disillusioned, and even feeling a sense of loss, in that space. So in that eighth house, you could feel like not as connected to your partner. Maybe there's divorce going on. Maybe there's a passing away of somebody, because the eighth house is life and death, endings and beginnings, right? Could be marriage and divorce. But the first 2 years is less of a marriage thing, because Chiron is in there, Vulcan is in there, Eris is in there. This like inability to really like agree. So the change and the transformation is something that's ultimately going to be a good thing, but there's got to be this letting go, right? Gradually, awareness is going to emerge, right? Where you're going to see what's underlying, whatever challenge is going on in there. And you're going to be able to recognize it and start to make some changes. Neptune helps you see the truth of the situation and therefore live in your own truth. Now, this transiting energy in that space indicates that, like, again, any kind of joint enterprises, like shared investments or anything, will definitely be a source of concern in this period. So any sort of legal situation, joint ventures that you might be in already, sharing of resources, any space like that, an inheritance situation, an insurance payout, can be a source of concern. You would be really smart, again, to avoid investing your money in any sort of, especially joint scheme, or making long-term commitments of any kind. Again, go for the long term. It's also possible that you become more concerned with the metaphysical world rather than the material one. A lot of people, a lot of times when Neptune is in the eighth house, this is where we get really into astrology, psychology, really trying to understand the process, trying to understand what's in the underbelly of everything. You could also be very artistically inclined in this space. And, sounds random, but just as an aside, you could be very, very good at, you do want to make sure that you watch out for any addiction in this space, because that could really be very challenging for your health in this space. But really good with like taking old things and making them new again. Really, really good. It's like you're going to have a natural eye and a natural gift for that. Very, very good for, working in any kind of creative way would be really good. But the best way to manifest a positive outcome for this is prioritize doing your shadow work, really being honest about your own stuff. Where might you be a little too critical? Where might you be a little too stubborn? Going to therapy, doing any sort of energy healing practices, great way to go. Protect your energy and set healthy emotional and financial boundaries. Now, I do want to mention here too, with Neptune in the eighth, you're the one who can be taken advantage of when it comes to finances. First and foremost, because it opposes the second house of your money. Okay. So, it can manifest a couple of different ways, but that is the first way that I understand it. So please make sure that you're setting very good, healthy boundaries, and you're not creating any kind of nasty karma in that area as well, that you're not being shady. Do not be shady, because Neptune can be pretty shady. And in the eighth house, it will come back around and bite in the ass later on. Okay. I'm not saying this to be scary. I'm just reading the energy. Okay. Trust your intuition when navigating deep emotional connections. Again, because that eighth house is like very deep. It's sex and intimacy, and it's really like sharing the body, right? You want to make sure that you're not messing around with any energies who are not illusory, who are just being very presenting themselves as this perfect thing, and then you end up on, the lousy end of the coin. You want to be careful of that. Um, Embrace cycles of death and rebirth, letting go of what no longer serves you. I mean, that is a great way of using this energy. This is all about alchemizing your pain into your power and allowing yourself to heal deeply and really awaken a deeper part of yourself, the more spiritual part of yourself, that we all have that, right, within us, and really waking that part of yourself up. Um, not allowing yourself to live on the surface of life, but really allowing yourself to go a lot deeper, when it comes to your intimacy, when it comes to setting boundaries as well with yourself, when it comes to other people. Really, setting boundaries. Now, be careful again with that Neptune energy in the eighth. Generally speaking, I mentioned about investments, but it's not the best time as well to begin lawsuits. You have Aries in the eighth house. Aries naturally lives in the first house, which is where your Virgo energy is, and that's where we begin legal situations. So if you're looking to sue someone, this is not the right time to do it. It most likely will not go in your favor, okay? So just to rethink a different strategy as far as how to handle something would be a better way to go for you guys, okay? So I do hope this was helpful in some way. Um, some of it could be a little challenging in that eighth house, but what can be great is the challenge can be there when it comes to finances, but you could also get in front and pay off in front of it and pay off your debt, pay off the taxes. Um, you know, Create boundaries. You have to create the healthy boundaries when it comes to intimacy, shared resources, legal situations. You guys have to be the ones to do that. If we just leave the energy the way it is, Neptune in that space will dissolve the boundaries. He melts them away, right? Part of the human condition is choice. Thank goodness. You have to be the one to exercise boundaries in that particular space. Okay, guys? So hopefully this was helpful, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Libra, I hope you guys are doing great. Let's talk about Neptune going into Aries, going in on March 30th. Not getting out until 2039. So it's a 14-year stint where you guys are going to experience this transit through your seventh house of relationships, partnerships, one-on-one connections. Again, for the next 14 years. So what could this mean? First thing I say, soulmate connections and karmic relationships. Now keep in mind, Neptune dissolves boundaries, leading to deep spiritual and very fated partnerships. A lot of you can end up ultimately attracting soulmates or creative collaborators who help you evolve on a soul level. This is the thing. With Neptune in there as well, you're going to be looking at your most important relationships. You're going to be looking at your marriage. You're going to be looking at the connection to your boss or bosses. You're going to be looking at your energetic output at work. And are you doing what it is that you really want to do? Because there's going to be some real shaking the dead wood off the tree in that space. Illusions in love and boundaries are going to be tested. And while this transit can bring romantic and idealistic energy, it also carries the risk of projection, codependency, or deception in relationships. You really have to be, more than any other sign, you have to be the most careful with the rose-colored glasses when it comes to dealing with people in your life. Okay? Really, because this is opposing that first house of self for you guys, right? So, very important. Especially for those of you who are like in the first decan, like the first 10 degrees of that ascendant energy. Yeah, just be really careful there, having to do with, it could be a significant other, a business partnership. Be very careful, right? Because somebody can be like, oh yeah, no, I want the same thing. I'm not married. I'm not with any, I'm ready for a relationship. This is we want the same thing. Now remember, seventh house is the house of mirrors also. So, equally so, you could be the one like, no, 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 I want to be in this relationship. I love doing what I'm doing in my job. But meanwhile, like underneath the surface, it's like, you know, not really. You could even be the one that could be rather deceptive. It could be vice versa because that is the seventh house again is the house of mirrors. So we could wear the rose-colored glasses or we could put the rose-colored glasses on other people. Right. So it depends on what else is working in your chart, but that is definitely going down in the seventh house. Now, there could be a lot of healing through relationships. This could be a very powerful time for emotional healing and forgiveness, both in romantic as well as business partnerships. Really, really good. Creative or spiritual partnerships can be formed. Anything connected where if there's some sort of shared artistic endeavor, spiritual or humanitarian collaborations that help you express your creativity as well as your compassion and what it is that you really want. Really, really nice. So, keep in mind that Neptune is the dual fish. So, yeah, your dreams could be coming true in that seventh house. The beautiful relationship, healing, growth, all of that stuff. But there's an underbelly to it that I don't want you to forget. Don't get so caught up in the butterflies and unicorns or something that you don't step back and say, all right, let me just make sure that reality is going on here, right? Because there could be some potential challenges with this transit that you could be attracting partners who are emotionally unavailable or dishonest. That's any kind. That could even be with deep friendships as well. You could easily lose your identity in relationships and you could experience confusion or lack of clarity in commitments where it's like, what's really going on? And you have to be very honest with yourself about this, Libra, because, I don't know each of you, you're in your individual chart. So I don't know what's in the seventh house that's in conversation, right, with Neptune in in your personal seventh house for the next 14 years. But I could just say that Neptune in the seventh house can create 14 years of confusion in a relationship, especially if you're going into this transit confused already about how you feel about a significant other or how you feel about what it is that you do for work or that connection to a boss or bosses, right? You might even be, because seventh house is also your therapist, it's also your doctors. And you just might be confused, am I with the right group of people? Is this the right thing? And it's very real. Getting to the underbelly of that, though, and making sure that everyone's being honest. If your gut is telling you that, because I'm going to tell you what, the South Node in Virgo in the 12th house is going to have you kind of opening up as a receptor, right? As an open vessel, because usually Virgo in the 12th house is kind of closed off to doing a lot of the work, right? Going too deep, right? Because you could be very self-critical. But the South Node in Virgo in the 12th house, that's not going to be the case. You're going to be a lot more inclined to see things for what they are. Allow yourself to see people for who and what they are, you know. And it's going to become very clear to you. It will become very clear to you. But again, especially over the next 2 years, you know, you want to make sure that you're being very open again, because there are a lot of gifts. Again, this deepening of emotional secure connection, intimacy, manifesting that soulmate energy, healing relationship wounds, karmic patterns from the past. All of these things could really be happening. I do want to say that with this Neptune energy sextiling the fifth house, there could be let me just roll out a couple of different scenarios and you're going to know which one, resonates with you if any of them do. You could be in a space where you want to really work on your marriage, for the sake of the kids, because Pluto's in the fifth house. So maybe you're pregnant, or maybe you're trying to have children. You may also be thinking if having children is the right thing for you. And this might be a very pivotal point within the connection of your significant other. But depending on how that conversation goes, now you're going to become very, it's going to become very obvious if you're wearing rose-colored glasses in your relationship just for the sake of the kids, and you're forgetting to remember yourself, Libra. Or you're putting yourself too much on the back burner because you don't want the confrontation. You got to be a little careful with that. Now, others of you, Neptune sextiling Pluto, Pluto in the fifth house, this could be new relationships. So, and in Aquarius, it could be somebody who's like not your typical type, or somebody who's just out of the box, a little different in one way or the other, right? And that could be challenging a current marriage or serious relationship that you're having, where you're realizing like maybe I want to go in a different direction. When it comes to relationship, that could be the case for some of you. Some of you, there could be a lot of a blame game going on when it comes to some sort of situation going on with children that could be stressing your relationship as well, where you feel like staying in it is victimizing you in a certain way. Some of you are going to be in the throes of wanting to help, especially your oldest child, having to do with some sort of change that's going on in their life, right? And that strong desire to help your children could be straining your relationship again. For others of you, this is you realizing, you know what? I really don't like working for people. I want to work for myself, because that Pluto in the fifth house and a sextile is entrepreneurial activities. Whatever's coming in the fifth house is going to be very good for you, though. So whether it's a new relationship, whether it's a child, whether it's your own business, any of those fifth house energies that really want to bring our joy and happiness moving into the future, it's all a really good thing. But now it's going to be sitting with that seventh house energy of that significant other, of that bosses, of the energetic output at work, and say, okay, where does this fit into the scheme of things now? Because the new is coming in that fifth house. Because it's like that Pluto energy, Libra, wants you to be happy with the capital H. And he knows you're really not right now, generally speaking, because there's a lot of balls in the air right now I see in your chart. And again, this is a very general reading, but for the archetype of Libra, lots of balls in the air. And it's not uncommon for the initial energy, again, and I've been saying this for all the signs, when Neptune goes into Aries, for us to feel confused and for us to experience disillusionment and even a sense of loss. Okay, that's not uncommon. So that feeling of loss in the seventh house, of feeling like some of you may literally be afraid that you're going to lose your job, or that you're just not feeling very connected to what it is that you do, right? On the day-to-day in that space, feeling a sense of loss and disillusionment about your marriage, a sense of loss and disillusionment having to do with a really good friend. I mean, you'll know where it manifests for you, but gradually awareness emerges, and you're going to be able to see what's underlying the illusions and what you can gain by changing your course and embracing values that really do align with the path that you are on. And Neptune helps you see the truth of the situation so that you can ultimately live your own truth, right? And with the transiting in that space, your relationships with your your most important loved one could be going through a confusing time. Now, testing your integrity, testing your self-confidence. It could be that your relationship has deteriorated because of your partner's ill health, issues surrounding addiction, or their inability to be fair, transparent, and honest. It may be that a partnership has dissolved, leaving you wandering in a fog, completely uncertain as to how to, reason out what, why, or it could be that your partner has been deceiving you in some way and you're realizing it now. Sometimes a third person can be hovering in the distance, creating an additional layer of confusion to the whole thing. If you're not currently in a relationship, you may feel very drawn to someone in need of your help, someone who could become very reliant on your good nature. It would be best to avoid those kinds of relationships, although you may not see it in the moment. If you feel that your new relationship is ideal and that it's the one that you've always been waiting for, you would still be really smart to enjoy the romance, but wait before making any sort of huge long-term commitment, since you may not be seeing things completely clear, especially over the next 2 years. So on a more positive note, it's certainly possible to enjoy a creative or spiritual pursuit with your partner during this time. Certainly the lesson is to face all issues with your partner with as much honesty as possible, just to make sure that your primary relationship is enriching your lives rather than draining each other, draining your resources. This is really your chance to gradually become aware of the true nature of your bond with partners and make changes in your life that end up bringing you rewards, and not that you feel like you're sort of left hanging out in the wings waiting for something to become better, right? Or more. So practice discernment in partnerships. Avoid putting others on a pedestal. You want to set healthy boundaries while also allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Prioritize self-love and self-worth to attract more authentic connections. You don't want to be in a place where you're completely self-deprecating, because then that's going to draw to you someone who's comfortable doing that to you as well. You want to explore creative or spiritual projects with others. So there's a lot of good to be had here for you guys, Libra. This is just all about dissolving old relationship patterns and opening your heart to divine love and higher connections, but with grounded self-awareness, and just not forgetting to remember yourself. Okay, guys? So hopefully that was helpful in some way. Thanks for hanging with me. See you next time. Bye-bye. Scorpio, hope you guys are doing great. Let's talk about Neptune going into Aries on March 30th. This is going to be transiting through your sixth house of work, health, routines, and service for 14 years, all the way to 2039. So let's just unpack what this can mean for you. This energy is going to inspire you, Scorpio, to infuse creativity, compassion, and purpose into your work and your daily habits. You may feel drawn to healing professions for some of you, holistic wellness practices. I love that for you guys, or creative service work. So it could be your health, it could just be your day-to-day, but you're going to want to do things that have more purpose, right? Creativity, yes. Purpose, yes, right? This idea of healing through mind-body connections is great for you guys right now. Your physical and emotional health will become deeply entwined. There's no doubt about it. A lot of you have been going through it already with that Chiron transiting in Aries as well. So yeah, I mean, energy work, yoga, plant medicine, any sort of alternative healing methods could be really, really good for you guys. Really changing up your exercise routine, changing up the way in which you eat, redefining your work path. A lot of you are going to feel very called to leave your traditional job, or to just leave basically traditional job roles and pursue a more soulful or artistic career path. So maybe you want to, get into something more of in an independent way, do something more creative, or just something that's got more purpose. You are certainly going to be having an increased sensitivity to your environment. Your whole energy field is going to be a lot more sensitive, and you're like, oh, great, I'm a Scorpio. I already have a sensitive, are you saying out loud? I can hear you from here. I already have a sensitive energy field. So you're definitely going to need to set boundaries with toxic work environments and avoid overworking yourself. And over fill in the blank having to do with sixth house. So you want to make sure you're taking really good balanced care of your health. And I know it's going to be a little difficult because I see, I'm looking at your chart right now. I see that you have a stray in Sagittarius in the second house. but it might be time to really get in front of that thing that you do too much of that isn't serving you anymore. Now, it could be anything from alcohol to drugs to food to sex to being too stuck in your own, like your own myopic vision of how something needs to be, anything like that. You really kind of want to loosen the belt a little bit there and try to get in front of that. Yeah, but really trying to feel more in touch with your body is very, very important. Okay. Because Neptune does rule disease and disease. So you want to make sure that you understand that obviously having a planet like that in the house of health, as well as daily work environment, which is, you could feel very victimized in your daily work environment. You could lose a job with Neptune in the sixth. I'm not saying that to be scary. I'm just reading the energy. It's your daily work environment. Neptune is, can be very victimized. Could also be very self-sabotaging behavior as well. Now, with Neptune and Aries in the sixth house, Neptune is pushing you onto a different path. You have to understand that because Neptune also rules our dreams and our creativity. And Aries is a leadership energy. It's having a lot of autonomy in the workplace. So if you're dealing with these external energies that are, raining on your parade at work, or where suddenly all of these health issues are starting to pop up, this is a call for you to have greater agency over your life. So you'd certainly be feeling very burnt out or disillusioned with your job. You could be feeling burnt out or disillusioned by like your health, situation that keeps coming up. And in particular, because it's in the sign of Aries, obviously it could have to do with depression or anxiety, but Aries does rule the physical body. So it could be anything having to do with like, a foot, a hand, a knee, an arm, a hip, leg, whatever, and needing to change things, right? Physical symptoms manifesting from emotional or spiritual imbalances are absolute indicators of this particular energy. So be very mindful of that. You could also experience a lack of clarity or direction when it comes to, for some of you, your career path, for others of you, just the life that you're living in the day to day, and where do you belong? Because again, that's the house of where we are of service. And with Neptune in there, it's like, who am I of service to? Where do I belong? And really looking at your most important relationships and making sure that really good boundaries are exercised there, right? But where do I belong? And there could be a little bit of a floaty kind of energy here. There are some gifts along with this, you know, healing workaholic tendencies and learning to flow with divine timing is definitely a gift that's going to be showing up a little sooner rather than later. Um, for sure, needing to balance out that energy, tapping into creative and intuitive gifts in your career, in your day-to-day workflow and your day-to-day responsibilities, as well as finding deep fulfillment through service and through helping others. And I know a lot of you guys really do enjoy your time alone. It's very easy for Scorpio energies to go into hermit mode. I understand that, but getting out there and in a very kind of like selfless way, engaging with other people would be a very good thing for you, especially your children being of help to your kids. Now, it's not uncommon for this initial transit to feel very confusing and for you to feel very disillusioned in that sixth house, having to do with your health, having to do with your daily work environment, your daily responsibilities. You could even be feeling a sense of loss, and the loss could be like maybe you feel like you lost like the good health that you have, or feeling like like a loss in a job or a loss in your ability to carry out your day-to-day responsibilities in the way that you had been. But gradual awareness will emerge and you will be able to see what that underlying energy and the illusions that have been at play, and what you can gain by changing your course and embracing values that truly align with the path that you want to be living. Neptune helps you see the truth in any situation here. So, therefore, living your own truth. So when it travels through that sixth house, you need to take care of, obviously, your health, taking particular care with drugs of any description. Again, any description, whether it's alcohol, whether it's food, whether it's literal drugs, whatever it is. The trouble is that your body is overly sensitive during this time to all of these things. So you may even develop or discover allergies. You may also feel somewhat lethargic, overwhelmed by the demands of a busy life. A good balance of rest, exercise, a healthy diet goes a very long way in helping you to cope with this energy. So for that to become the energy of balance, your new normal, is a really good way of getting in front of all of this. And you may also benefit from seeking advice from alternative healers, or maybe even exploring options for working as a healer yourself in a spiritual field. But prioritizing mental and emotional well-being through meditation, through breath work, through journaling, anything where you're getting it out and you're dealing with it, is a good way to go. Setting boundaries with draining environments or people is completely necessary. And you could feel, the thing is this too, with Neptune in there, you could feel like open enemies in the mist. You know what I mean? So, and that like you're on the receiving end of some sort of like gossip, or, you know, open enemies, right? Even whether it's in the workplace, or even if it's just like in your neighborhood, in your day-to-day experience. Really protecting your energies from people who are like that. Do explore spiritual or creative career paths that align with your soul purpose, and rest when you need to rest, Scorpio. Your body, again, so much more sensitive to stress and energy shifts. So you're going to find that. So you guys have probably found that typically Scorpio energies, like when they get a cold, you kind of get over it rather quick. And you could also have very little patience for people who don't, if that makes sense. That's going to be changing. The cold is going to linger for a bit longer. The healing is not going to happen quite as quickly. You understand? Because of this Neptune energy in the sixth house of health. So healing can take a lot longer. These things can take a lot longer. So just be mindful of that. And this transit is all about releasing perfection, healing the body and soul, and stepping into your true purpose as a healer and a guide for others. This is what you're meant to be, right? You're living it, you're learning it, and then you're going to teach it. And you're going to be a voice of wisdom for other people, right, in this area. So, Scorpio, I hope that was helpful in some way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Sagittarius, let's talk about Neptune in Aries. It starts on March 30th, goes until 2039, and you're going to be experiencing this transit through your fifth house of creativity, romance, self-expression, as well as pleasure. This means a lot of things, so let's just start unpacking. Creative awakening and artistic flow in spades. Neptune dissolves limitations, allowing you to tap into divine inspiration, creative talents, artistic expression. This is such a powerful time for any of you who are artistically inclined, those of you who are writers, those of you who are musicians. Excellent energy there. Fifth house is also falling in love, love affairs, and romance, right? So romantic fantasies and soulmate energy is certainly on tap for you guys. Your love life will take on a dreamy, almost mystical quality, attracting spiritual and karmic connections. However, boundaries will be the key to avoiding illusions or toxic dynamics. Remember, Neptune can be very seductive. The fifth house is love affairs. You want to be careful that some sort of energy that crosses your path can seem very seductive, the rose-colored glasses can go on very easily, and they end up not being exactly who and what you thought. But it could be beautiful and fun to, if you're not otherwise committed, to have that sort of whirlwind romance. But take it very slow as far as connecting for the long term, because you may find out as time rolls on and time reveals itself that things were, or a person is not exactly who they presented themselves to be, right? And the thing is, in the fifth house, you could be very open to other um, other other reasons, right, for getting it. It could be money, it could be social status, whatever the case is. You just want to be careful of who it is that you get involved. It doesn't mean that you can't, doesn't mean that at all, but just be very cautious, right, when you're going into that space. Also very good for inner child healing and joyful exploration, because the fifth house is all about joy and fun and taking chances, right? Doing all of those things, right? Very, very mystical. You're going to feel called to reconnect with your playful, authentic self and heal any wounds around self-worth or creative confidence. Manifesting passion projects, absolutely. Neptune in Aries ignites your desire to lead with passion and purpose, allowing you to bring any sort of creative vision that's on tap to light, right? Now, I just want to go back to the idea of your joy. Now, it could be having to do with a romantic connection. It could be having to do with anything creative there. If you're in a situation right now in your life where you're not feeling very good about yourself because of a relationship or because of a job situation, whatever it is, if something in your life is rolling out in such a way where the result of it is you not feeling very good about yourself, once Neptune goes into the fifth house, there could be a very strong desire for escapism, right? And Sag, you're ruled by Jupiter, so you have a natural built-in wanderlust energy already. So you just want to be careful of saying, well, my current reality doesn't feel good. My current reality isn't what I want. So I'm going to allow myself to linger in this direction. So if you're with somebody already in a committed partnership and allowing yourself to kind of linger to entertain something else on the side, or even if you have some sort of project going or you have your own business already, but it's not making you feel good, for you to suddenly not feel very committed to that thing, and you're just going to go kind of like chase the unicorn and the butterfly, right? That's something that we all have to be careful of, but you guys have it in that fifth house. So that fifth house, you just want to make sure that when it comes to anything that would just make you feel better and more tapped in and tuned into joy, it could be rather illusory, and it can end up creating something that can be challenging for you on the other side. So just be mindful of that going in. But if that's not the case, and you're going into this and you're like, I want to start that business, I want to get that project going, I'm single and I want to meet somebody, this is such a fun energy for you guys. It's fun, right? As I want to say that it's fun. I wouldn't run off and get married. I wouldn't sign like a 20-year contract with anything like that having to do with a business or anything like that. But man, you're gonna have a good time, right? While something is rolling out. So very nice there. Let's talk a couple of potential challenges. You could be falling for romantic illusions or unavailable partners. This could even have to do with even a business partner, right? Having to do, like, if you're opening your own business or if you're doing some sort of project. You just want to make sure that you're not being seduced by somebody's empty promises. Obviously, it would be the same thing having to do with a romantic partner. You could be feeling creatively blocked. You could be feeling very insecure. And if you are feeling blocked and you are feeling insecure, those words of promise from an outside energy could seem extra sweet. So you just want to make sure that your both feet are on the ground. You want to make sure that you're not escaping through any sort of unhealthy pleasures or distractions. And please, 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 Sagittarius, under no circumstances should you be doing any sort of like gambling, unless it's like a little bit of money that you could afford just for the fun of it. But this is because the fifth house is the house of taking chances. It's the house of gambling, right? And with Neptune in there, Neptune is very foggy, very illusory. You could dream big and have stars in your eyes and dollar signs in your eyes, right? But at the same time, you could end up self-sabotaging yourself. So we have to be careful. Anybody having fifth house Neptune transit, eighth house Neptune transit, we have to be careful. Okay. So if you are going to be taking some sort of gamble, this is a gamble that you're going to be taking for the long term. Long term. So if you get money in your pocket or something ends up manifesting in a positive way, make sure that you're going for the long term. You're not doing a quick turnaround of that money and putting it in something quick for a quick hit of an investment. It's probably not going to go very well, but not the way that you see it in your mind's eye, right? Even if you've been typically pretty good with these kinds of things. Lots of Sagittarius horizons are lucky ducks because Jupiter does rule your chart, absolutely. And you got the communication going, and all of that is happening as Jupiter in the seventh house of contracts and boss and bosses and people in relationship. And so, right, you got the words going, everything's flowing, everything could feel good, and you're like, yeah, why not? Well, I'm going to tell you why not, because Neptune's in your fifth. Don't take any big, high risk chances, especially when it comes to your money, especially when it comes to, well, the hell with that. I don't need that person. I'm going to go in this direction. You could be thinking very quick because you have some sort of connection with an individual or a situation. And at the end of the day, you will end up kicking yourself in the behind. Okay. So just be careful of that. Okay. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Obviously, with Neptune, I'm saying this for all the signs, when Neptune, especially initially in this transit, like the first year and a half, there could be some confusion. There could be some disillusion in that fifth house energy having to do with some sort of romantic partner, having to do with something connected to your children is also fifth house, having to do with your joy, having to do with a creative project. You could even be feeling a sense of loss. Right. And the loss doesn't have to be literal loss. It can, but it doesn't have to be. It could be like a loss in the idea of how you thought something was going to go. But slowly but surely, there will be this gradual awareness. Remember, it is sextiling Pluto in your third house. Pluto's in your third house. So when it comes to your mindset, there's going to be this gradual awareness that you will be able to see what the underlying illusions are and what you can gain by changing your course and embracing values that truly enhance your journey in your life and on your path. Now, Neptune does help us to see the truth of a situation. He just does, so that we could live our own truth. So you're going to be able to see the reality of a situation in that fifth house, having to do with that business, that project, that situation with one of your kids, especially an oldest child, the situation having to do with your ability of being able to take a chance, right? Um, when Neptune moves through the fifth, that artistic side of your nature does flourish. It does boost any sort of creative projects undertaken. You may have taken up some sort of creative pursuit for the first time in your life. It's also possible that you might enjoy trips to anything connected to the arts, whether it's museums, art galleries, shows, getting out there in nature. You might find these things just more in your daily experience. Romance is also obviously indicated, although you would be wise not to not make any sort of long-term commitments, as I mentioned. Relationships with children, either your own or other people, could be somewhat confusing right now as well. If you don't have kids of your own, you may be confused about whether or not you would like any in the future. This could certainly be a point of confusion for you right now. At this point, you're really not kind of sure how it is that you actually even feel. But look, following your creative instincts without fear of judgment is the way to go. Absolutely, because you're going through a season in your life where you're unlocking your highest creative potential. You're attracting very artistic and spiritual people towards you, whether it's a lover, whether it's a partner of some sort, or just a group of people. Um, this is very sort of very loud in your energy. So I like that for you. But this is all about awakening your heart and your creative fire, and just, allowing yourself to manifest your dreams and live with passion and purpose, you know. And do that and allow yourself to do that and allow yourself to have that experience. Absolutely, you know. But you also want to keep your feet on the floor when it comes to the reality of a situation, to make sure, Sag, you're being really honest with yourself about that person that you're in the relationship with, about how it is that you honestly feel about having your own business or that project that you're in. Because you have so much good energy to do so many beautiful things in this part of your life, as long as you're being really honest with yourself. And the only reason I'm saying that as well is because it's not your fault. Neptune creates this fog, this confusion. But we have to, as people, set boundaries. We have to do that. Neptune isn't going to. We set the boundaries. Neptune is really going to try to dissolve them. So we have to make sure that we get those boundaries in the relationship, having to do with the project, having to do with that entrepreneurial endeavor, having to do with children, whatever it is. And we have to make sure it's our responsibility to make sure that those boundaries stay put. And we have to do it because the energy is not going to do that for you. Now, you have it sextiling with Pluto. This could be excellent communication. Oh my gosh, so good. So good for if you're doing anything having to do with writing and or teaching through technology. Are you kidding? This is so good. So good. Um, Podcast, YouTube channel, blog, vlog, blah, movie, book, curriculum, teaching. So good. Connecting with people. You guys like to connect with people anyway. Generally speaking, the archetype of Sagittarius does. But you're also changing the way that you communicate. You're changing the way that you think, because that Pluto energy sextiling now. Well, Pluto in the third house is changing the way you think and communicate anyway. But sextiling with that Neptune energy, man, is that good for any sort of creative fill in the blank. Like seriously, that is lucky duck energy. And I'm not saying that just to say it, for real. Especially now, in the next couple of years, you have Jupiter sort of just transiting this higher point of your chart. I mean, until the end of May, it's in the seventh house. Then it's going to go into your eighth house, having to do with endings and beginnings, other people's money. Jupiter in the eighth house, like somebody investing in a business. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then Jupiter going to the ninth house of launching, advertising, marketing, getting something out there. It's the house of wealth. He's in domicile in the ninth house. The next couple of years look pretty good. If you do the work now, if you do the work now, and it's got to be done through the lens of clarity, no rose-colored glasses. So don't start making excuses for anybody in a way that doesn't make sense. Human condition, we're all flawed. I'm not saying to be too much of a hard nose with people, but getting those boundaries in place and really being very diligent with them. Because, man, do you have a lot of good energy if you can manage to do that. So good. All right, my friends, that's what I have for you. Thanks for hanging with me. See you next time. Bye-bye. Capricorn. So let's see what this means for us, this Neptune in Aries, starting on March 30th, going all the way through 2039. We're going to be experiencing this in our fourth house of home, family, roots, as well as emotional security. There'll be a lot of emotional healing and ancestral clearing out. Neptune dissolves emotional walls, pushing us to heal childhood wounds, ancestral patterns, and family dynamics that don't serve us. This is a time of release of generational karma just to create a more soul-aligned foundation. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I've already been in this space for the past couple of months since that Neptune has been in that last decan there in the sign of Pisces. There's going to be a redefining of home and living spaces. You're probably going to feel really drawn to move to a more peaceful or spiritual connected environment. For some of you, or you're going to be motivated to create some sort of sanctuary-like space that reflects your inner world. And I know for me, I was just a few weeks ago, I was speaking to one of my sons about how in my office, in my house, I have a large window here, and it looks out into my yard. And because I work a lot, I want to be able to set up some sort of sanctuary, like right outside, that I could see that brings me peace, maybe some sort of like water fountain or something, but I want to do it myself, even though I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Right. When it comes to this stuff, I'm going to teach myself, right? And I want to create my own kind of sanctuary. So I personally am just sharing this with you because I'm a Capricorn rising. That's something that I'm personally dealing with on a very and it's very spiritual, very spiritual. We could be experiencing blurry boundaries with family. Be mindful of emotional codependency or taking on other people's emotional baggage as well, where you could easily just feel like you're taken and taken and taken and taken. You want to be a little careful there, right? With that Neptune in the fourth, because it can be a very victimized energy where you want to be unconditionally loving and giving, yes, but you don't want to be in a space where you're constantly on the receiving end of family members' stuff, right? Where you're not even being asked, hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling, right? In the same way, you want to be mindful of not having any sort of emotional codependency either. This is going to be a time of deepening your intuition and certainly connecting to the past. Your dreams and your intuition will become a lot more vivid, like, hey, we're feeling this already, helping you uncover hidden family secrets or even ancestral wisdom. Now, this could happen in your sleep, but it could also happen with weird stuff going on around the house. Feeling these things. I'm telling you guys, I am feeling it already. I was doing cardio this morning and it I felt the presence. I couldn't see it, but I absolutely felt it. Um, and I normally like don't have those kind of experiences. A lot more when I'm with other people, I feel things, but the past like week or so, definitely feeling very strange birds coming to the feeder right outside my window that I've never seen before. Things like that. The smells out of context, the weird stuff, the computer just turning on, things like this, feeling very like dropping things a lot as well, right? These are all signs, right, that end up coming. So just to give you guys a couple of examples. Now let's just talk about a couple of challenges that can certainly come up, right? I mean, we could feel a little emotionally lost or disconnected from our roots. This can certainly happen. For myself, I lost two siblings this year. My one brother, who I love dearly, I don't get to see him that much. Um, my other sister doesn't speak to my brother and I. She's got very compromised morality going on there. So my brother and I decided to sort of put her in a different space just to keep like our own energy clean. But you know, there is that settling into like the new normal, right? We could also struggle with boundaries in family dynamics, just our immediate, family dynamics as well. Escaping emotional pain through work or avoidance. I mean, how many of us do that, Capricorn? Throw our energies into work, like, because we're a worker energy, like we like our work, that's the thing, but we'll like find stuff to do, if we really don't want to deal with something, right? It could say, I mean, look, it's part of the human condition. But when we have Neptune in the fourth house, these are some potential challenges that could come up. Now, even if you're not, because some of these things I'm not even resonating with right now, but I do know that this is a 14-year long transit. I also understand that we're going to be having Saturn in that fourth house transiting for a couple of years. So even if we're not, starting this coming year, like the initial transit is June, July, August, then it dips out for 6 months, and then it goes back in for a few years. So it doesn't have to be for now, but this is over for the next 14 years. Now, the gifts here, though, could be absolute deep emotional healing and spiritual growth. Creating, like I said, the sacred and very peaceful home environment, strengthening your intuition and connection to ancestors. And just understanding self better through ancestral energies and better understanding ancestors. And just so that you understand, it could be these just out of nowhere epiphanies, realizing what maybe your mother may have gone through in her life, or her mother, or the dynamic of some sort of circumstance in her life, something like that. Even if you've thought about it already, this could be a deepening, a different layer, a deeper kind of energy. Now, just in general, I do want to say, and I'm saying this for all the signs, it's super common when the initial effect of Neptune going into Aries happens, especially for like the first year, year and a half, there could be confusion and disillusionment, perhaps even a sense of loss. So there could be this sense of loss around home, family, could be property, real estate, or it could just be your ability to feel emotionally secure, which is very connected to the first house. But slowly but surely, this gradual awareness is going to emerge, and you're going to be able to see what's underlying the illusions and what you can ultimately gain by changing your course and embracing values that truly enhance your journey. Now, Neptune helps you see the truth of any situation, and therefore it ends up allowing you to better live your own truth. And with Neptune traveling through this part of our chart, the confusions and the uncertainty, yes, may be pretty profound initially, but it may be also that there are some sort of domestic upsets that are undermining your general confidence, making it difficult for you to function at work because it's opposing the 10th house, or even if you like work at home. It could also be that you lack the motivation to pursue your professional duties with your usual vim and vigor. Health challenges can feature in your life at the moment, either your own, right, where you're feeling this lack of vitality, or a close family member. Could certainly be that. Rather than trying to fight through the fog, trying to fight through the lethargy, it's better to accept the limitations, take some time at home to reflect on your life and how to restore the balance in the long term. Even if it's just taking some extra time for you, taking extra time to do what it is that you need to do, taking extra time to meditate, to pray, to work on your own health, to exercise, to prepare fresh foods. All of these kinds of things would really be a good thing for you, because this is your opportunity to change your home and family in such a way that it truly offers you truly a safe and nurturing haven. So you want to make sure that you're practicing inner child work, and emotional release techniques, really letting go of that Chiron, being very, very honest about that Black Moon Lilith, being brave enough to lean into your North Node, not giving too much credence to that South Node energy. You want to set healthy boundaries with your family members, connect with nature, and or create a spiritual, could be spiritual home altar to ground yourself. Anything that's going to help you to ground yourself at home. You could even try grounding sheets or a vibration board. I have a vibration board. I use it every day. Grounding sheets are excellent as well. I have those as well. You could just get them on Amazon. They really do work. Grounding sheets, you get the fitted one, and it's very interesting. Look them up if you never heard of them. A great energy for exploring family lineage and ancestral healing practices. But this is a transit, in short, really for you guys, about breaking free from old emotional conditioning and creating a soulful, nurturing foundation for your future self. And really, and kind of don't let up, like let that be part of your day to day. Even if you live in a really small place, and even if you just rent, creating a little space that you can consider your sanctuary can be very, very healing. Now, I do want to say as an aside that because Neptune does rule disease and disease in the fourth house is also very connected to our first family. We want to make sure that our loved ones are all okay. I did mention it before about the ill health. This could be a manifestation like having to do with mother energy, first family energy, or really anyone in your environment. And if that's the case, and you have to take on a caretaker role, because Neptune does rule Pisces, and Pisces is the sign of the nurse, right? And if you are in that space, you really want to make sure that you're still taking that time out for yourself, and that you're exercising extreme love and extreme self-care, and that you are not forgetting to remember yourself, even if it's just you carving out a little piece of your day for that. Okay. And I do want to say, as a last aside, that Neptune in the fourth house, for those of you who work from home, I do want to just dedicate a little section because it is sextiling Pluto in the second house of the money that you make from the work that you do. This could be excellent for writing a book, anything creative. I'm just saying writing a book, but it could be anything creative. It could be anything at all. Doing anything, especially because Aries is in your fourth house. Aries naturally lives in the first, and you have Capricorn on the first, which rules your career. So for those of you who are working from home with this sextile to Pluto, this could be such an amazing change. This could be great for getting a business, somebody investing, getting money from somebody to help grow a business, getting money for somebody who you're connected with, having some sort of windfall and them sharing the money with you. Could certainly be that as well. But great for creativity if you're working from home. So don't let this go to waste. Make sure that you're doing something with it. Okay, my friends? So good. Okay, so making money from home, really good. Doing something creative. Okay. All right, my friends, that is what I have for you. I hope this was helpful in some way. You guys take care. See you next time. Bye-bye. No Aquarius. Wow. Okay. So Neptune in Aries is happening in your third house. Aquarius, for you guys, this is adding a really awesome, exciting layer of creativity and inspiration into your communication, your learning, as well as your daily interactions. The third house governs how you connect with your immediate environment, your thoughts, ideas, communication style, and even siblings, your close neighbors, your neighborhood. So this could play out a bunch of different ways for you guys, but this idea of creative and visionary communication is beautiful. With Neptune and Aries here, you may find yourself expressing ideas in a way that's both innovative and imaginative. Your communication could take on a more intuitive vision and visionary quality. You might be inspired to share unique ideas or creative projects with others. Your words can feel charged with a sense of purpose as well as excitement. There's going to be a lot of intuitive thinking going on for you guys. Neptune's influence might enhance your intuitive abilities so much so where it makes you more receptive to subtle messages and ideas. Your thought process could become a lot more fluid, allowing you to tap into unconventional or abstract insights. You may feel more connected to your inner vision when processing information, especially if you're studying or exploring new intellectual or spiritual topics. This is so good for you guys, especially because Uranus is on the move, your chart ruler. There's a real energetic push for you to produce something new, a new path for yourself. It's going to be a lot more in alignment with what it is that you're meant to be doing. There can be this restlessness and this impulsiveness, however, that you experience because Aries brings that, right? I mean, it's Aries is fire. Right? It's ruled by Mars, right? So it's an element of restlessness and impulsiveness. So you may feel an urge to jump into new ideas or projects without fully considering all of the details. And this could lead to bursts of creative energy, but it might also cause some confusion as well as some misdirection. Because if you act too hastily, right, it can end up, going belly up on you. You got to be careful here. So it's essential to find balance and avoid any kind of scattered thinking. You can have a really difficult time focusing in this energy, but you want to make sure that you're more in control than that. Do you know what I mean? Because I can tell you what the energies are, but as a human being, you have choice and you can choose to create boundaries wherever Neptune is, because Neptune can become very hell-bent on dissolving boundaries. And when it's in the third house, boundaries in our thinking, we can be very scattered when we have no, when the boundaries are melted, right? But we have to say, okay, I need to create some sort of strategy to help me stay organized, to help my thoughts stay on point, whatever that means for you. But just keep in mind that when it comes to your mind and your mental faculties and the way that you think, you will be scattered. That's okay. That could actually work in your favor, but you have to make sure that where it counts, maybe you're studying, or maybe you need to have that focused during meetings at work or whatever the case is, you have to make sure that you create some sort of strategy and some sort of boundaries to keep yourself focused and to have those boundaries up. Again, there could be this idea of idealized communication coming to the forefront for you as well. You might be prone to idealizing the way you communicate with others, whether it's through writing, speaking, or any other form of expression. And there's a chance that you may project unrealistic expectations onto others in your daily interactions, especially when it comes to how they understand or respond to you and your ideas. So you may also feel a sense of spiritual or artistic connection in your conversations, particularly with people who do share your vision. But you want to make sure that you don't become too in your head in that space, right? Because Aries does rule the head, and the third house is our thought process. So learning and exploration are also going to be activated here because that Neptune in the third can absolutely inspire you to learn in a unique, non-traditional way. So your studies might take on a more philosophical, artistic, or spiritual bend, or especially in areas that are related to communication, psychology, or creative expression. You might also be very drawn to exploring ideas that are unconventional or ahead of their time, really thinking outside the box. All of that could be great. A lot of times, when Neptune is in the third, a lot of people will tell me like, I think I have ADD. I think I do. I cannot focus. And it's very real, right? That's a very real feeling. So you just want to make sure that you're not overindulging in any sort of like stimulants or anything that's going to increase any sort of scattered energy in the, in the mental realm, but generally speaking and overall, this placement could help you develop a more imaginative and visionary approach to your thoughts and communication. While it can be a time of great inspiration, it's important to stay grounded and avoid becoming too lost in the idealistic fantasies or confusing distractions when it comes to communicating, other people, learning, anything like that. And it's not uncommon. I'm saying this to all the signs. It's not uncommon for the initial transit of Neptune into Aries to manifest as being really confusing, feeling very disillusioned, feeling a sense of loss. And in that third house, it could really your imagination and your intuition is very heightened, but there could be this sense, which is great. It's great. And I don't want to take away from that, but there could initially be this feeling of loss in that third house space. So again, that has to do with siblings, it has to do with extended family, but it has to do with the way that you communicate and the way that you think. And you could be feeling a little left out in communication, misunderstood initially. That's going to go away initially. You may have some difficulty thinking in a logical fashion. You would be really wise to avoid signing contracts and making business decisions while this transit is very active. Communication could just be confusing. However, it's a great time for any project that requires creativity and artistic flair. So it's almost like, stepping into your being like the eccentric artist, right? Having to do with writing and communicating and all of that, but also at the same time, you can feel kind of misunderstood, right? So for you guys, you know, looking at new ways of expressing yourself, particularly through technology, humanitarian efforts, or even social change. There's also a tendency to get lost in the excitement of new ideas here, so it's essential to stay grounded to avoid becoming overwhelmed or worse, directionless. Now, I'm saying that's worst case scenarios. I have to give you the different manifestations. And to be forewarned is to be forearmed. That's the thing. You want to make sure that you're keeping your feet on the floor because Neptune in the third, so good if you're doing anything creative, so challenging if you need to do something where you have to have solid communication. So, you know, it's just something to keep in mind. Now, the third house is also very connected to learning. And Neptune is, connected to spirituality. It's connected to tarot and Reiki and crystals. It's very connected to nursing and humanitarian efforts. So there could be a lot of learning that goes on in those areas as well. That's certainly like a positive manifestation. And this could absolutely encourage you to, lead with a vision, trusting your instincts and pushing forward in ways that could ultimately end up reshaping your reality. It may also highlight a deeper need for spiritual freedom, urging you to seek personal growth and transformation through some sort of like dynamic action. I say dynamic because it's in Aries. So you might want to embrace your spirituality even more deeply, maybe even do some writing with it. Third house is writing and communicating, creating a podcast or some sort of platform for yourself, doing some sort of writing, speaking, anything like that. Um, this could be a very good place for you guys. Very beautiful space, in fact. So that is what I have for you. I hope this was helpful. It is sextiling the Pluto energy in your first house. So you have to understand that, you're beautifully situated to end up getting an offer for your dream job, to do anything spiritual, anything creative. And the creativity, quite frankly, because it's sextiling with Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus, you're going to have to do with something online or something having to do with technology, where it's your particular unique approach to something is embraced, right? But don't be afraid to go after it, right? Don't be afraid. All right, Aquarius, that is what I have for you guys. It looks good. See you next time. Bye-bye. Pisces, let's talk about Neptune and Aries in the second house for you guys. This can bring you guys a unique blend of creativity, idealism, and a very strong desire for independence to matters related to finances, to values, as well as self-worth. The second house governs your personal resources, material possessions, and how you perceive and approach security, as well as, I do want to say, your inner body. So like your inner organs, the health of your inner body is also very second house. And while Neptune, with Neptune there, adds a very dreamy, very spiritual influence, and Aries adds boldness and urgency, right? So we have that combination of really wanting to kind of get in front of it. So how could this unfold for you guys? There could be an idealistic approach to finances, first of all, because Neptune in the second house can make you more attuned to the intangible aspects of wealth, like your values around abundance, security, as well as material possessions. You might find yourself idealizing or romanticizing money, which can lead to an inclination to make financial decisions based on dreams or inspiration rather than reality and practicality. So let's just get this part out of the way. This can be a real part of your experience. There could be a desire to pursue careers or ventures that align with your spiritual or artistic passions, even if they aren't the most financially secure options. And in that space, it's like, so what? I feel like I wouldn't be able to make enough money to do whatever, to have whatever you want to make sure that you're careful here because Neptune, remember, it's the dual rules Pisces, rules you guys. This is your ruler, the dual fish. You want to make sure that you're not going into any sort of self-sabotaging behavior here. Now, creative potential for income is here. Aries in the second can give you a burst of creative energy and an entrepreneurial spirit, really pushing you to take risks and start new ventures that align with your ideals. This could be really, really good. This placement could inspire you to pursue your passions in a bold, very independent way, as the second house does. Really nice energy, potentially leading to success if you can channel your energy wisely. However, there might be an impulsiveness in how you approach money, so it's important to strike a balance between creative ambition and financial stability. There's got to be a balance there. There can also be confusion around self-worth. Neptune's influence in the second house can sometimes lead to confusion around your sense of self, self-esteem, and your values and what it is that matters to you. You might struggle to see your own worth clearly, especially when it comes to your material success. So this can make you very susceptible to overestimating or underestimating what it is that you actually deserve. So it's important to find a grounded sense of value that isn't based solely on material possessions or external validation, especially guys, because that Chiron is still in that second house, not feeling very great about your sense of self and self-esteem with that Chiron in Aries to begin with. So not giving that more weight is really the key here, right? Now, Neptune's placement here in the second house, it could certainly inspire you to view wealth and possessions through a more spiritual or a more philosophical lens, right? You could feel drawn to create or accumulate resources in a way that aligns with your higher purpose or creative vision. You might feel that money is not just for personal gain, but for greater spiritual fulfillment or to help others in some way. So that really good intention is there. But just remember that when Pisces is in the house, there is a lot of confusion and a lot of fog. So when it comes to risk-taking in financial ventures, Aries does add a lot of bold action-oriented energy into that space, possibly encouraging you to take financial risks or to try some new unconventional ways to earn money. And this could be very exciting, but it may also lead to sudden, unplanned financial changes. So it's essential to stay mindful of the potential for loss of unrealistic expectations when making financial decisions. So just in general, guys, Neptune and Aries in the second for you guys to bring a blend of inspiration and impulsiveness to your financial life, and it may challenge your understanding of your worth and value. And if you can balance your visionary ideas with practical action, this placement, this transit can absolutely open the door to creative and meaningful ways of generating income, though it's important to avoid getting lost in unrealistic expectations or idealism, right? And just understand, I'm saying this to all the signs, that when Neptune first moves into Aries, it's perfectly normal to feel a little out of step. Okay, could certainly make us feel a little confused, a little disillusioned. That's going to ultimately end up passing. And Neptune does help us to see the truth of the situation so that we can ultimately end up living our own truth in that space, right? So, there could be some, again, a little confusion there initially when it comes to your income, which can make it a little difficult for you to plan things when it comes to your money. Your confidence and your self-esteem can be a little wobbly there, but ultimately you're going to be able to work through that, okay? You may also earn money through alternative practices, some sort of alternative employment, some sort of side hustle. It's a good spot for that. So generally speaking, Neptune in this space, um, dynamic transformation, really, having to do with any sort of second house pioneering energy. This can make you very deeply connected to spiritual realms as well, because the second house is truly the first stop for ancestral patterning. And Neptune is very connected to our ancestors. So we could be realizing, well, I mean, Neptune also, being the energy of disease and disease, it could also, bring to the forefront some sort of health challenge that's familial, right? That's in the family. It could certainly be the unpacking of a certain way of doing something that's connected to the way things have been done, in your own family, where you're realizing the ancestral patterning that you carry within you and you're getting in front of it because it's in Aries. It's like fresh path, new perspective. Let's not give this any more weight. Let's redefine something. Let me shake off the dead wood. I didn't like that my mother or my grandmother did A, B, and C, whatever. And there's a lot in that second house that's very in the subconscious, right? Because there's no way that you could really know what's going on with like your great 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 grandparents, right? Really holy. So you might even know some folk tales within your family having to do with their experiences, but it's not like you were able to experience it, yourself. But there is going to be this sort of page turning energy with Neptune in there when it comes to breaking the chains of ancestral patterns that aren't serving you anymore, which can be unbelievably beautiful. Right? So that is what I have for you guys. You do have it sextiling that Pluto energy in your home in the 12th house. So you guys are going to be doing a lot of changing. There's going to be a lot of letting go. There's going to be a lot of, there's just going to be so much release in your energy, which is so great, which is so great. So that is what I have for you guys. I hope this was helpful in some way. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.